Chapter 271. The Dark Abyss Mountain Range. It was a desolate and gloomy place. Legend had it that the Dark Abyss Mountain Range had once sealed an unparalleled demon. The evil aura that leaked out from the demon turned into the Dark Abyss Chi that lingered in this place. This Dark Abyss Chi was even stranger than the various strange auras that Tianyang had seen in his previous life. This was because this Dark Abyss Chi seemed to be everywhere. It's a little strange. Tianyang and Lingyuan stepped into the Dark Abyss Mountain Range and frowned slightly as he muttered to himself. Although he had heard of the Dark Abyss Mountain Range in his previous life, he had never stepped into it. Therefore, he did not know how to deal with this Dark Abyss Chi. However, he and Lingyuan were not ordinary people. The strength of the heavenly dragon body was enough to make them immune to this small amount of Dark Abyss Chi. The Dark Abyss Chi did not even dare to come close to the nine-tailed lunar fox bloodline. The Dark Abyss Chi that was extremely troublesome and could even be fatal to others was not even a fart to Tianyang and Lingyuan. Due to the influence of the Dark Abyss Mountain Range, all kinds of special magical beasts have been produced. These magical beasts have shorter lifespans than ordinary magical beasts, but their talents are much stronger than ordinary magical beasts. Therefore, in the depths of the Dark Abyss Mountain Range, there is a magical beast whose strength has reached the third heaven of the Dao Fire Realm. Lingyuan said as she looked at the introduction of the Dark Abyss Mountain Range in her hand. Hearing this, Tianyang's heart moved. A third heaven of the Dao Fire Realm was not common. The Dark Abyss Mountain Range was countless times more powerful than the Snowgale State's Fearsome Beast Mountain Range. After all, the most powerful magical beast in the Fearsome Beast Mountain Range was the Crimson Dragon Aoling, who had been cursed and was just passing by to heal. Speaking of which, I wonder how that little red dragon is doing now, Tianyang muttered. Hearing this, Lingyuan was stunned. She did not know what Tianyang was talking about. However, Tianyang's mysteriousness was not temporary. Even though she was Tianyang's disciple, she did not know much about him. Therefore, she did not mind and stepped into the Dark Abyss Mountain Range with Tianyang. Roar! An earth-shattering roar suddenly came from the side, along with a surging true yuan pressure, crushing towards the two of them. In the next moment, a pitch-black claw soared into the air and pounced toward Tianyang and his companion. We've only taken a few steps, and there are already magical beasts that dare to act rashly. Sensing the changes around him, Tianyang broke away from his memories. He coldly harumphed, and the killing sword appeared. A blood-red light flashed as a violent killing intent was released from the killing sword. Instantly, the demonic beast was sent flying. After it landed on the ground, it was unable to move. It's actually a black fox, a third-rank magic beast with a cultivation of the second level of the origin transformation stage. Not bad, Tianyang said in a low voice as he turned his head to take a look and recognized the type of magical beast at a glance. However, it was different from the pitch-black and deep eyes of ordinary black foxes. This black fox's eyes seemed to be covered by a layer of strange black gas. Its pitch-black eyes had also turned blood-red. Its body had shrunk quite a bit, but this black fox's attack power was definitely stronger than ordinary black foxes. Without a doubt, this was the result of the Onyx Mountain Range's influence. Pitiful. After taking a look at the black fox, Tianyang sighed softly. It has strength, but it's retarded and has a short life. This Onyx Mountain Range really isn't a good place. At this moment, a blood-red light flashed in the black fox's eyes. It instantly broke through the restriction of the killing intent of the killing sword and waved its sharp claws, pouncing towards Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. With a wave of the killing sword, a tyrannical sword aura shot out, instantly slicing the black fox in half. On Tianyang's student token, there was an additional number, 1. After dealing with the black fox, Tianyang did not stay at the edge of the mountain range for long. There were more magical beasts in the inner parts of the mountain range. Of course, the more dangerous it was. The magical beasts in the Onyx Mountain range are actually so difficult to deal with. At this moment, Dugu Ao held the enormous axe in his hand as he glanced at the crimson wolf before him, and he couldn't help but curse in rage. Isn't this wolf too abnormal? Not only is its attack power terrifying, even its defense is so formidable. Although he didn't use his full strength when he swung the axe down, it didn't leave the slightest injury on the wolf's body. This defensive strength could be said to be terrifying. This strength is at least at the 4th level of the origin transformation stage. This Onyx Mountain range is really filled with danger. Dugu Ao spoke in a low voice as his eyes stared fixedly at the wolf. The crimson wolf flickered with a blood-red light as well, and in the next moment, it abruptly charged towards Dugu Ao. Dugu Ao grunted coldly when he saw this, and the true essence within his body circulated. Facing this attack that was sufficient to take his life, his expression remained unchanged as he swung his axe out. Profound rank martial skill, explosive flame axe. In the next moment, a flame ignited on the enormous axe and brazenly collided with the sharp claws of the crimson wolf. Bang! A muffled sound resounded in the forest, and in the next moment, the crimson wolf that thought it had blocked the axe suddenly started twitching. A flame had coiled around its body without anyone noticing. In the next moment, bang! Explosion! At this moment, the student command token in Dugu Ao's possession reacted as well, and the number on it changed from 0 to 1. So strong! Baigong Yu was shocked as he looked at the crimson wolf that was already dead, yet still emitted a powerful aura. His spear technique, that could be considered as one of the top in the younger generation of the Baigong clan, was actually unable to withstand this crimson wolf. If it wasn't for the fact that this spear wasn't an ordinary object and was a high-grade treasured artifact, he would probably have been decapitated long ago. As expected of the Onyx Mountain range, danger is everywhere, and a random devil beast is so terrifying. Baigong Yu lightly patted his chest that was heaving up and down as he sighed. At this moment, in other places, countless people were also being attacked by devil beasts. Not only were the devil beasts in the Onyx Mountain range powerful, but they were also incomparably ruthless, killing anyone they saw. In less than 10 minutes, there were already people who had no choice but to use their small life-saving balls. They didn't even earn a single contribution point before they were disqualified. However, those were only mediocre people. At this moment, under the terrifying scan of Tianyang's soul power, all the devil beasts in the surroundings had nowhere to hide. Every time the killing sword in his hand was swung out, it would almost certainly take the life of a demonic beast. Ling Yuhan was the same. Although her cultivation was not high, the bloodline of the nine-tailed heavenly moon fox was like a deity, so she was born with a bloodline pressure. Ordinary devil beasts couldn't even use 2/3 of their combat strength in front of her. At this moment, Tianyang had already collected 132 contribution points, and Ling Yuhan had close to 100. At this moment, a disdainful sneer suddenly sounded. I didn't expect that 2 pieces of trash would be able to obtain so many contribution points. Then, hand them all over. Chapter 272. Hand it over? Tianyang squinted his eyes when he heard that. A cold glint flashed across his eyes as he smirked. Who are you? Why do we have to hand over the contribution points that we worked so hard to earn? Tianyang sneered. Indeed, the Onyx Mountain range did not prohibit new students from fighting each other. After all, there was only motivation when there was competition. As long as it was not fatal, Sky Blue College would turn a blind eye to such robberies. Unfortunately, this young man had obviously found the wrong person. Nangong Shin sneered when he heard Tianyang's question. He looked down and said arrogantly, "Humph, who am I? I'm the strongest genius of the Nangong family in this generation. Nangong Shin. I have a 7th level talent and a cultivation base at the 6th level of the origin transformation stage. Even Dugu Ao and Baigong, you are no match for me. How can you two commoners with no background be my match? Why don't you obediently hand over your contribution points so that you can avoid some physical pain? Nangong Shen sneered. Tianyang chuckled when he heard that. 6th level of the origin transformation stage? 7th level talent? And you're from the Nangong family? So this is how you bully others and look down on everyone? The mockery in his chuckle was obvious. Nangong Shen's face turned cold when he heard that. He was the strongest genius of the Nangong family in this generation. Even in the entire Night Dome City, there were only a handful of people who could achieve this at his age. Now, a mere commoner ant dared to go against his words. Looks like you're refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Since that's the case, I'll take it by force. Nangong Shen sneered. In the next moment, the true origin of the 6th level of the origin transformation stage circulated in his body. He executed his movement skill and shot out like an arrow. His speed was so fast that it almost broke the sound barrier. It was only the beginning, but he almost broke the sound barrier. This kind of terrifying speed was simply shocking. After all, Nangong Shen was only at the 6th level of the origin transformation stage at the age of 19. You have some skill. Tianyang raised his eyebrows when he saw Nangong Shen suddenly explode with a terrifying speed. However, this is still not enough. Then, a bloody light flashed in Tianyang's hand, and a long sword emitting a terrifying murderous aura appeared in his hand. Now, the killing sword had been upgraded to an upper-grade cosmic artifact. A high-grade artifact? Feeling the powerful aura from the killing sword, Nangong Shen's expression froze. However, he quickly relaxed and sneered. To think that a commoner ant would have a high-grade prized artifact. How shocking. However, even a high-grade artifact won't be able to save your life. Nangong Shen let out a hollow laugh. Following this, a saber appeared in his hand. Judging from its aura, it was also a high-grade artifact. Go to hell. Peerless profound ranked martial skill, Gale Slash. Nangong Shen roared. In the next moment, gusts of fierce wind gathered on his long saber, bringing with them terrifying destructive power. A greenish-gray storm gathered on the long saber. In the next moment, it charged towards Tianyang. You should be honored to die under my Qingfeng saber. Nangong Shen laughed maniacally. At this moment, the saber aura from the Gale Slash was completely released. Seeing this, Tianyang smiled faintly. How could an attack of this level be enough to kill him? Wasn't he looking down on the Sword Emperor too much? Flowing Cloud Sword Technique. Tianyang let out a low roar. Streaks of flowing clouds appeared around him. The Flowing Cloud Sword Technique, which was also a peerless profound ranked martial skill, suddenly exploded. Sword from the Flowing Cloud. Tianyang let out a loud roar. A cloud-like sword radiance instantly shot out. The two of them collided in midair. Instantly, waves of energy rippled out, accompanied by terrifying shock waves. Boom! The surrounding tall trees seemed to be unable to withstand the shock waves from their battle and were almost chopped down. At this moment, the Flowing Cloud Sword radiance suddenly shone brightly. The greenish-gray Gale Saber aura was instantly shattered. With a terrifying aura, the Flowing Cloud Sword radiance accelerated again and charged towards Nangong Shen. Humph! How dare a piece of trash like you try to compete with me? Prepare to die. Facing Tianyang's counterattack, Nangong Shen's face was filled with arrogance. He waved the Qingfeng saber in his hand and charged towards Tianyang again. Earth-ranked martial skill, 18 Gale Slashes. Nangong Shen said arrogantly. Then, the Qingfeng saber, which was shining with a green radiance, charged out again and collided with the Flowing Cloud Sword radiance. Bang! 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 3 consecutive strikes did not break the Flowing Cloud Sword radiance. Instead, Nangong Shen was forced to take a few steps back. This shocked Nangong Shen. The 18 Gale Slashes was an Earth-ranked martial skill. Although it wasn't outstanding among the inferior Earth-tier martial skills, it was still terrifying. However, facing this move, which was at most a profound ranked martial skill, Nangong Shen was unable to do anything to it even after 3 strikes. Furthermore, this sword radiance had just broken his gale slash. Bastard! Thinking of this, Nangong Shen became even more furious. His 6th-level Origin Transformation Stage True Origin swung his saber again and finally broke the flowing cloud sword radiance. Ha ha ha! Trash will always be trash. Even your moves are so weak. Nangong Shen laughed out loud. Seeing this, Ling Yuhan, who was watching from the side, had a strange expression on her face. This was only a profound ranked martial skill, but it forced Nangong Shen to use an Earth-ranked martial skill to break it. On the other hand, Tianyang still had Earth-ranked lower, middle, and upper-ranked martial skills that he had not used yet. Hand over your contribution points obediently, and I'll leave your corpses intact. Nangong Shen laughed maniacally. He used his movement skill and charged towards Tianyang at an explosive speed. However, Tianyang's expression remained calm. He looked at Nangong Shen indifferently with a smile on his face. This was the first time he had met someone who did not know his limit. Even those bastards in the northern wilderness region were stronger than Nangong Shen. Sunset Sword Technique, Sunset Decay. Tianyang did not bother to talk nonsense. He circulated a few drops of Heaven Origin True Origin at the same time, bringing about a terrifying explosive force. Coupled with his cultivation base at the peak of the 4th level of the Origin Transformation stage, Tianyang executed the strongest strike of the Sunset Sword Technique he had ever executed. Boom! A crimson sword radiance broke Nangong Shen's 5th to 11th saber radiance. As for the remaining sabers, Nangong Shen did not have the chance to use them anymore. This was because Tianyang's Sunset Decay had already arrived in front of him. Bastard! Seeing the crimson sword radiance that was about to explode his head, Nangong Shen's expression changed drastically. His soul ocean shook violently. Martial soul, come out! Half-step to Earth-ranked martial soul, Black Tortoise Shield. Nangong Shen shouted. His martial soul energy surged and immediately formed a huge shield in front of him. On the shield, there was a lifelike creature that looked like a snake and a turtle. Black Tortoise? Seeing this strange creature, Tianyang was stunned. He then chuckled. I really thought it was a black tortoise. In the end, it's just an old turtle with the black tortoise's bloodline. However, a half-step to Earth-ranked martial soul is not bad. At this moment, the sky cloud sword's radiance flashed. Chapter 273. Boom! A violent shockwave, accompanied by violent energy ripples, spread out in all directions. Instantly, even the extremely violent demonic beasts in the dark Abyss mountain range could not help but change their expressions. They distanced themselves from the battle between Tianyang and Nangong Shen. This battle was simply too powerful. Unless it was the true elites in the periphery of the Dark Abyss mountain range, the ordinary demonic beasts in the Dark Abyss mountain range were no match for them. At this moment, the setting sun finally fell on the Black Tortoise Shield. Boom! 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 The setting sun was different from the ordinary sword radiance. The Sunset Sword Technique was extremely close to the middle grade of the Earth tier. It was not that simple. The first attack was already comparable to the power of a lower grade of the Earth tier sword technique. The following series of explosions were even more deadly. The energy ripples on the Black Tortoise Shield were like water ripples. Seeing this scene, even Nangong Shen's expression changed greatly. He finally realized that the person in front of him was not an ordinary commoner who could be humiliated by him, but an extremely terrifying genius. Damn it! My Black Tortoise Shield is a half-step to the Earth-tier martial soul. How could it be broken? Nangong Shen gritted his teeth and replenished his true origin into the Black Tortoise Shield. However, the Black Tortoise Shield was already in danger from the series of explosions. Now that Nangong Shen had injected his true origin into it, it was only a temporary solution. He blocked it. At this moment, following the end of the last explosion, the scarlet sword radiance in front of him disappeared. Seeing this, Nangong Shen's face surged with joy. "Haha! Without this sword, let's see how you fight me." Nangong Shen laughed wildly. He circulated the true origin in his body and charged towards Tianyang with the black tortoise shield. With a shield in one hand and a saber in the other, the current Nangong Shen really looked like a soldier in the army. However, it was just a facade. Seeing Nangong Shen charging towards him, Tianyang was stunned. Then, the corner of his mouth curled up. "You've delivered yourself to me? This is great. I don't have to waste my true origin to chase after you." At this moment, Nangong Shen was already in front of Tianyang with the black tortoise shield and the green-edged saber in his hands. "Haha! Ant trash, prepare to die. How dare you disobey me, Nangong Shen?" Nangong Shen laughed wildly. However, the movements of his hands were not slow. The Zhen Yuan within his body circulated rapidly, providing a powerful support for his attack. A mid-grade Earth-tier martial skill. Tornado of the world. Nangong Shen roared. The azure sharp saber in his hand flashed with a bright light. Even the black tortoise shield gave off a bright light. A terrifying tornado that was countless times stronger than the previous gale also condensed on the Qingfeng saber. Furthermore, because of the azure sharp saber, the power of the windswept horizon had even increased a little. A high-grade artifact was indeed tyrannical. In his opinion, this Earth-tier mid-level windswept horizon would definitely kill this commoner trash, who dared to provoke him. Upon seeing this, Tianyang merely lifted his eyelids, curled the corner of his mouth, and spat out 2 words. "Ha-ha!" Then, Nangong Shen saw Tianyang's heavenly sword attach itself to the killing sword. In the next moment, he raised the killing sword, aimed at the powerful tornado, and slashed down. Sky sword art, sky soaring. Then, a sharp sword light that seemed to tear everything apart exploded from the killing sword. In an instant, it pierced through the so-called tornado of the world. This middle-grade Earth-tier martial technique was not even worth a fart in front of Heavenly Sunday, what? Upon seeing this, Nangong Shen's face changed. His strongest attack was actually unable to do anything to Tianyang? Where did this commoner disciple come from? Why had he not heard a single word about him until now? Damn it! Faced with the terrifying Sky Soaring's attack, Nangong Shen hurriedly placed the black tortoise shield in front of him, attempting to block it with the power of his half-step Earth-tier martial soul. However, no matter how much he thought about it, he would never have thought that this attack contained the power of the heavenly sword, the nemesis of all martial souls. Boom! Another terrifying explosion sounded. The surrounding space trembled rapidly, and the demonic beasts that were hiding in the dark abyss mountain range fled in all directions as if they had seen a primordial beast. As for Sky Soaring's attack, it had successfully shattered the black tortoise shield. As the owner of the black tortoise shield, Nangong Shen naturally did not have it easy. His face turned pale as he looked at Tianyang in disbelief. That was a half-step Earth-tier martial soul. However, this martial soul was unable to block Tianyang's attack. After the black tortoise shield had shattered, Sky Soaring's attack still retained its terrifying power. The sharp sword light ruthlessly shot towards Nangong Shen. Nangong Shen tried to block it with his sword, but it was useless. Sky Soaring's attack still landed squarely on his body. Pfft! Nangong Shen spat out a mouthful of blood. The aura around his body was extremely weak, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. A commoner had actually managed to injure him so easily. If Tianyang had not held back, this attack alone would have taken his life. However, even so, Tianyang's attack still left a horrifying wound on his chest. His bones could be seen. With one attack, the strongest genius of the Nangong family, Nangong Shen, was severely injured and on the verge of death. Even the upper-grade treasure weapon, the green sharp saber, had cracks on it. As for the black tortoise shield, although it had immediately returned to Nangong-shen's spirit sea after it had shattered, a significant portion of the martial soul's power had been devoured by Tianyang. A half-step earth-tier martial soul was a great supplement. The Tianshao sword had once again taken a huge step towards the upper-grade mystic rank. If he could completely devour the black tortoise shield, he would definitely be able to step into the upper-grade mystic rank. Damn it! Nangong-shen fell to the ground with a loud bang. He no longer had the strength to get up. He glared at Tianyang, who was smiling brightly, and screamed, "How dare you injure me? The Nangong family will not let you off." Nangong-shen roared angrily. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows and smiled. "I have already offended Nangong-yun. The Nangong family will not let me off in the first place. Now, adding you into the mix is not a big deal." Hearing this, Nangong-shen's body trembled. He looked at Tianyang in disbelief. How high was the status of the four great families in Night Dome City? Even the city governor's mansion had to lower their heads in certain aspects. However, this young man actually offended them just like that. He even looked as if he didn't care at all. "The Nangong family will not. If you say another word, I really won't mind killing you." Nangong-shen struggled to say another word. At this moment, a cold light flashed across Tianyang's eyes. Nangong-shen was so frightened that he didn't dare to say another word. Tianyang's eyes were simply too terrifying. Even he couldn't look him in the eye. Nangong-shen didn't doubt that if he really said another word, Tianyang would definitely end his life with a sword. "Yes, it's good that you don't talk nonsense." Seeing that Nangong-shen had been successfully intimidated into shutting up, Tianyang's lips curled up. He looked at the student token on Nangong-shen's waist. "Since you want to snatch our contribution points, now that you've lost, I won't be polite and kindly accept your contribution point." Tianyang smiled. He stretched out his hand and the token instantly fell into his hand. Chapter 274. Although Nangong-shen's contribution points weren't as many as Tianyang and Ling Tianyu's, it wasn't bad either. There were more than 100 contribution points. It was obvious that most of the contribution points belonged to the other freshmen. After snatching the 100 contribution points, the number on Tianyang's student token broke through 300 and reached 301. As for Ling Yuhan, Tianyang wasn't stingy and shared some of his contribution points with her. Since Nangong-shen had so many contribution points, it wouldn't be a problem for him to share some of them. He naturally had to treat his own disciple better. As for Ling Yuhan, she was so touched that she was about to cry after receiving Tianyang's share. "Master, thank you," Ling Yuhan said emotionally. She didn't play any role in the previous battle, but Tianyang still didn't forget to share his contribution points with her. What kind of noble sentiment was this? Without Tianyang noticing, Ling Yuhan's impression of Tianyang increased by a lot. Even Tianyang himself didn't know that a casual action of his had actually earned another wave of favorability from Ling Yuhan. Nangong-shen was about to go crazy when he saw Tianyang and Ling Tianyu using his contribution points to flirt with each other. "How dare you snatch my contribution points? You're finished. The Nangong family will never let you off." Nangong-shen roared. His eyes turned red when he saw the contribution points that he had worked so hard to snatch become Tianyang's. Tianyang frowned when he heard that. He looked at Nangong-shen and said unhappily, "Are you tired of living?" Nangong-shen shuddered when he heard that. He had forgotten that the person in front of him wasn't one of those useless people in Xiaoqiong City who would cower when they heard the name of the Nangong family. This person could really kill him. "Yuhan, what are you waiting for? Let's go." At this time, after Tianyang snatched the contribution points, he was too lazy to stay here. He called out to Ling Yuhan and left. On the other hand, Nangong-shen glared at the backs of Tianyang and Nangong-shen as they left. He roared in his heart. How dare you steal my, Nangong Shen's, contribution points? I want you all dead. Die! Master, why did you let Nangong Shen go? Walking in the dark abyss mountain range, Ling Yuhan was puzzled. Nangong Shen's talent wasn't bad. Presumably, his status in the Nangong family wasn't low. Letting him go like this was akin to nurturing a tiger and inviting calamity. First of all, we have already offended the Nangong family. Regardless of whether we kill Nangong Yun or not, the Nangong family will still deal with us. After all, Nangong Yun is the young master of the Nangong family. We slapped him in the face in the Sword Pagoda. He definitely won't let this matter rest. Tianyang chuckled and said, Secondly, although Nangong Shen's talent isn't bad, he's still trash in front of me. Instead of killing him, why don't we keep him alive and let him help us collect contribution points? Then, I'll go and snatch his contribution points. Isn't that perfect? Tianyang laughed. Ling Yuhan's body trembled when she heard that. Is this even possible? Poor Nangong Shen. He probably didn't know that he had already become a vegetable in the field. He was constantly growing and waiting for Tianyang to harvest. So, where are we going now? Ling Yuhan asked after her doubts were resolved. Now that their points had surpassed everyone else, there was no longer any difficulty in the freshman trial. Although the contribution points had extraordinary effects, the magical beasts in the dark abyss mountain range weren't everywhere. Tianyang and Nangong Shen had already turned the area upside down. If they wanted to continue hunting magical beasts, they would have to go to other places. Let's take it one step at a time. Anyway, contribution points are quite useful in Sky Blue College. There's definitely no harm in obtaining more, Tianyang said. Ling Yuhan nodded when she heard that. At this moment, a strange fragrance suddenly wafted over and entered their noses. Ling Yuhan felt her entire body relax when she smelled this fragrance. The inner Yuan in her body seemed to have become much more active. What fragrance is this? Why is it so powerful? Ling Yuhan exclaimed. For someone with top-notch talent like her, ordinary treasures wouldn't be able to make her inner Yuan react. However, Ling Yuhan felt the inner Yuan in her body become much more active just by smelling this fragrance. Her mood also became much better. A treasure like this was absolutely extraordinary. Tianyang, on the other hand, raised his brows when he took a whiff of the fragrance. There's actually such an extraordinary item in the dark abyss mountain range? Not bad. I didn't know what to do at first, but now I know. After that, Tianyang and Ling Yuhan no longer hesitated and headed in the direction of the fragrance. The birth of the treasure was not far away, so they naturally couldn't miss it. A strange fragrance that can actually cause my inner Yuan to fluctuate. Looks like it's definitely not an ordinary treasure. A young man stood on the giant beast's corpse and looked into the distance as he chuckled softly. I heard that there are Sky Blue College's freshmen training in the dark abyss mountain range. I hope they don't disturb me. The young man laughed to himself. After that, he waved his hand and a blue flame rose from the giant beast's corpse. In the blink of an eye, the giant beast's corpse turned into ashes. From the tyrannical aura that he emitted, he was actually at the 8th level of the origin transformation stage. I'm determined to obtain such a treasure, the young man sneered. After that, he executed his movement technique and dashed towards the direction of the fragrance with extreme speed. On the other side, a cultivator at the 7th level of the origin transformation stage had a change in expression as well as he noticed this peculiar fragrance. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Just like the young man and Tianyang, he was tempted by the treasure that this fragrance belonged to. In another place, among the freshmen of Sky Blue College, Dugu Ao's expression changed slightly as he looked into the distance in the direction of the fragrance. This fragrance is so formidable. If I obtain it, I'll absolutely surpass Nangong Shen, and even Ling Yuhan and Tianyang. Dugu Ao laughed loudly. After that, He put away his weapon and charged over with extreme speed. For a moment, countless people sensed this fragrance, and there was no lack of 7th or 8th level origin transformation stage experts among them. As the first to discover it, Tianyang and Ling Yuhan, who were closest to the direction of the fragrance, had already arrived at the source of the fragrance at this moment. There's actually such a large lake that's like a paradise in the dark abyss mountain range. Tianyang glanced at the enormous lake before him. The surroundings were filled with dense black forest, but this large lake was like a blue gem that made one yearn for it. At the center of the large lake was a small island. A beautiful flower was swaying with the wind. Its petals were in full bloom and emitted waves of fragrance. When he saw this beautiful flower, even if Tianyang was experienced and knowledgeable, his heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. As for the nine-tailed fox Qianhan, who was resting within the dark soul pearl, she gasped when she saw this large flower. Chapter 275. It really is that. Unlike Qianhan, Tianyang, who had already guessed it, was confident and smiled. Then, he began to carefully examine the beautiful flower that was emitting a unique fragrance. The flower was about a foot in diameter, but it was only a dozen centimeters tall. It looked a little awkward. However, this structural awkwardness was only a small flaw. Once one saw the flower in its entirety, one would unknowingly be immersed in it and forget about this flaw. The petals were light pink, but they were like pieces of gemstones, giving off an intoxicating glow. Even the stamen, which was light yellow and did not seem to match the light pink petals, still gave off a dazzling charm. Seeing this flower, Ling Yuhan was stunned. She was completely attracted by this flower. There was actually such a perfect thing in the world. The purple silk flower. I thought it could only be nurtured in a place like the central region, where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was abnormally abundant. I didn't expect to see it in the dark mountain range in the firmament territory. Heavenly Sun said with a smile. Hearing that, Ling Yuhan nodded as if he understood. So this flower is called the purple silk flower? What a beautiful name. Hearing this, Qianhan, who was in the dark soul pearl, also spoke. That's right, sword. Tianyang. This purple silk flower is extremely helpful for cultivation. If you can get this purple silk flower, you will definitely be able to reach a higher realm faster. Qianhan said excitedly. Facing a treasure like the purple silk flower, even though she was once an expert in the third heaven of the Tao fire realm, she could not sit still. This was the purple silk flower. It was said that the purple silk flower was a treasure from another world. Unless it was in a place with abundant spiritual energy of heaven and earth, it would be extremely difficult for it to survive. However, once it survived, its value would be unparalleled. The energy it contained was secondary. The most important thing was that the fragrance given off by the purple silk flower could not only catalyze the circulation of a cultivator's vital energy. Moreover, it could also absorb the surrounding spiritual chi of heaven and earth, and even increase the cultivation speed of the owner. In the future, even if he lost the purple silk flower, he would still be able to cultivate faster than ordinary people. Once he had this purple silk flower, it was equivalent to having a cultivation cheat, as well as a natural spirit gathering array. How could the cultivators not go crazy? Whether it was in Tianyang's previous life or this life, a treasure of this level would definitely make a Tao Fire Realm cultivator go crazy, and even a Spirit Sea Realm cultivator would be tempted. Of course, as the Sword Emperor of a generation, how could Tianyang not know how powerful this purple radish flower was to him? He chuckled, but he didn't try to take it. That was because there was an energy barrier that even he could not shatter. However, if the purple silk damask flower were to fully bloom, the energy barrier would explode. Tianyang muttered to himself. Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, a series of sonic booms rang out. One after another, figures came to the side of the lake and looked at the beautiful flowers in astonishment. This is the purple silk flower. It's the legendary purple turnip flower. A middle-aged man who seemed to be slightly older looked at the purple silk flower on the small island at the center of the lake with shock and exclaimed. Everyone was shocked when they heard this, and they looked at the purple silk flower that was as magnificent as a gem with disbelief. It really is. There's actually such a divine treasure for cultivation in the Onyx Mountain Range. We've struck it rich. There are only Origin Transformation Realm cultivators here, and I'm in existence at the peak of the 7th level of the Origin Transformation Realm. This purple silk flower, I'm taking it for sure. A coarse middle-aged man laughed wildly. He carried an enormous saber on his back, and he emitted the aura of a king. When they felt this tyrannical aura, everyone's expressions changed, and some people recognized the origin of this coarse middle-aged man and spoke in astonishment. This is the bandit leader of the area around Night Dome City, Ouyang Ming. Why is he here? Ouyang Ming. When they heard these 3 words, everyone's hearts suddenly trembled, and the gaze with which they looked at the coarse middle-aged man became much more solemn. Ouyang Ming had committed many evil deeds in the area around Night Dome City, and he had done countless evil deeds, but his strength was also abnormally strong. Who would have thought that Ouyang Ming would actually be here when the treasure appeared this time? He's just a bandit leader, and he's still vainly trying to get his hands on this purple silk flower? At this moment, another cold laugh sounded, and everyone shifted their gazes, and they instantly saw a young man with an arrogant expression. The young man stood at the top of the nearest mountain, and he looked down at everyone with a face full of arrogance. However, no one present was dissatisfied with this young man's arrogance, not because they were convinced, but because they were afraid. This young man was the genius of the Dongfang family, Dongfang Zhuo. Dongfang Zhuo was only a little over 20 years old, and he had already reached the 8th level of the Origin Transformation Realm. Such talent was extremely terrifying. Moreover, because he was born in the Dongfang family, Dongfang Zhuo had all kinds of precious martial skills and powerful treasures on him, and because of this, Dongfang Zhuo's cultivation was even more terrifying. Such a ferocious person had actually come here at this moment. It seemed like he was also interested in the purple silk flower. Who dares to speak to me, Ouyang Ming, like that? At this moment, Ouyang Ming heard someone provoking him, and he immediately roared in dissatisfaction. However, in response to Ouyang Ming's roar, Dongfang Zhuo only snorted coldly. With a snort, the rolling waves of true origin were transmitted along with the sound waves, and then they gathered together and bombarded Ouyang Ming's body. Pfft! Ouyang Ming's throat tasted sweet, and his face suddenly turned pale. He took a few steps back, and did not dare to look at Dongfang Zhuo again. The peak of the 7th level of the Origin Transformation Realm, the infamous bandit leader Ouyang Ming, had actually been forced to retreat by Dongfang Zhuo's snort. Although Ouyang Ming had at most suffered some light injuries, Dongfang Zhuo's snort had displayed his dominance and strength to the crowd. With such a cultivation, this Dongfang Zhuo was indeed a genius of the Dongfang family. His cultivation is not bad, and his intention of killing the chicken to warn the monkey is not bad either. However, the monkey is the only one who can be warned. Tianyang had a faint smile on his face. He glanced at the crowd of cultivators attracted by the purple silk flower's fragrance, and chuckled softly. The Dark Abyss mountain range is a forbidden area for Sky Blue College's new students, but for other cultivators, it's a paradise. At this moment, the number of cultivators gathered around the lake had already reached hundreds. Among these hundreds of cultivators, Dongfang Zhuo and Ouyang Ming were exposed, and hidden in the shadows. Tianyang's eyes narrowed, and he looked at the young man hidden in the crowd, who did not reveal himself and did not reveal himself. This person is not simple. At this moment, Dongfang Zhuo stood at the peak of the mountain, and looked at the increasing number of cultivators around him. When his eyes swept across Tianyang, he could not help but reveal a trace of disgust and contempt. This purple silk flower is not something that any Tom, Dick, or Harry can lay their hands on. Dongfang laughed coldly. Hearing this, the crowd was stunned and then became restless. There are a few hundred people, and there are quite a few trash among them. Why don't we clean up a few first, and then fight for it? Dongfang laughed coldly, and looked directly at Tianyang. Tianyang raised an eyebrow, and met Dongfang's gaze. He immediately understood. This guy, does he think that I'm not qualified? Chapter 276. Brat, hand over the treasure obediently and get out of here. Then, I'll spare your life. Just as someone made a move, someone immediately rushed in front of Tianyang. He looked at Tianyang with a ferocious expression and laughed wildly. Previously, Tianyang did not conceal his aura. Thus, everyone could easily tell that he was an extremely ordinary peak 4th level origin transformation martial artist. Although Tianyang had reached the peak of the 4th level of the origin transformation stage at his age and cultivated the sky origin true essence, which was extremely difficult to cultivate, it was extremely difficult. However, this was a battlefield. What was being asked was not your combat strength, but your talent. Only a Heaven's Chosen who matured could become a Heaven's Chosen. Yo, there's even a little girl following you. How about it? Hand over the treasure and get the hell out of here. Then, hand over this little girl, and I won't make you break your own arms. That person laughed wildly. The aura of a 6th level origin transformation martial artist was released everywhere, as if he was a balloon with holes all over his body. Hearing this, Tianyang laughed and looked at the young man in front of him with disdain. Are you so sure that you have me? His words were calm, but the young man flew into a rage. He was a genius who had awakened a peak 5th order talent in Sky Blue College. Since when was it this kid's turn to look down on him? How dare you look at me like that? Courting death. Profound high-grade martial skill, wave-breaking fist. The young man roared as he released his 6th level origin transformation stage true origin stage 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 origin stage. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. Instead, the corners of his mouth curled up. Facing this powerful punch, he did not even draw his sword. Instead, he directly stretched out his palm. Bang! The wave-breaking fist and Tianyang's palm collided fiercely. Before any injuries appeared, the young man could not help but laugh. Trash is trash. Wave-breaking fist, how could a piece of trash like you receive it so easily? Give me. H. The young man wanted to mock Tianyang, but unexpectedly, Tianyang's palm slightly increased in strength. The strength of the heavenly dragon body allowed Tianyang's pure physical strength to shatter mountains, not to mention this weak and feeble youth. Even if one's true essence cultivation was strong, it didn't necessarily mean that one's body cultivation was strong. Let me go! The young man roared, as if he had suffered some inhuman torture. His facial features were distorted and his face was flushed. He wanted to pull his right fist out of Tianyang's palm. However, although Tianyang's palm looked ordinary and weak, it was like an iron clamp that held his fist tightly. The terrifying power released from it almost crushed the bones in his hand. No, he had already crushed it. Ah! The young man screamed crazily. At this moment, Tianyang frowned slightly. This guy was really weak. He had not even used 10% of his heavenly dragon body's strength, and it was already like this. If he really used all his strength to throw a punch, this guy wouldn't turn into a splattering of minced meat, right? Bastard! Noticing that the strength in Tianyang's palm had decreased, the young man hurriedly pulled out his fist. However, his fist had long been disfigured. The bones in his hand were crushed, and even the muscles attached to it were fragmented and uneven. His entire fist was like an uncooked meatball, bloody and ferocious. I'm going to kill you! Seeing this, the young man immediately roared in rage and charged fiercely towards Tianyang. Mystic peerless grade, shattering fist. The young man roared crazily. However, the current Tianyang could not be bothered to tangle with this guy. He circulated the true essence in his body and did not intend to hold back. He punched out. The heavenly dragon's dragon force erupted. Roar. The punch had not even landed on the young man's body, but it had already caused the air to howl and intertwine with each other. It even caused a sound like a dragon's roar. Seeing this strange phenomenon, no matter how stupid the young man was, he could sense that something was wrong. However, it was too late now. Boom. This time, the young man's body was completely shattered. Flesh and blood flew in all directions, and the young man's soul was also destroyed by this punch. Seeing this, the faces of the people around changed. They looked at Tianyang's emotionless expression in disbelief. Such a cruel method actually appeared in the hands of a young man? This young man is really amazing. Some people could not help but exclaim. The world of martial arts was not a society ruled by law. It was difficult for ordinary people to understand the law of the jungle. Tianyang's actions might be seen as a devil in the mortal world, but in the eyes of these martial artists, it was a display of decisiveness. In this world, kindness would only lead to disaster. However, the person he killed is not an ordinary person. At this moment, someone recognized the identity of the person Tianyang killed and frowned. That person is from Ouyang Ming's Wild Tiger Gang. Ouyang Ming will not make a move because of his status, but the Wild Tiger Gang will definitely not sit idly by. That person said. Just as he finished speaking, a few people wearing tiger fur coats rushed towards Tianyang. The 5 of them were all at the 6th level of the origin transformation stage. One of them was even at the peak of the 6th level of the origin transformation stage. He was only a step away from the 7th level of the origin transformation stage. With such a cultivation level, there was no need for him to make a move in this chaotic battle. After all, the target of this battle was only the weak. A true powerhouse would not bother to deal with the weak. However, for the sake of that Wild Tiger Gang member, such a powerhouse had to make a move. Sir, don't you know that Zhang Qing is a member of my Wild Tiger Gang? The person at the peak of the 6th level of the origin transformation stage had a cold expression as he looked at Tianyang. Hearing this, Tianyang frowned slightly and looked around at the 5 people from the Wild Tiger Gang. I don't know. Hearing this, the 5 people from the Wild Tiger Gang were slightly stunned. Then, they became furious. Their Wild Tiger Gang's ferocious name was known by almost everyone in Night Dome City. This youth actually dared to say that he didn't know? Even if he really didn't know, he had to know in front of them. Even if you don't know, you can't kill a member of my Wild Tiger Gang. Even if it's a person who can be easily killed by a peak of the 4th level of the origin transformation stage, it's still the same. The person at the peak of the 6th level of the origin transformation stage said coldly, "Kill him." Hearing this order, the 4 people at the 6th level of the origin transformation stage roared and released their tiger-type martial souls. Their bodies seemed to have the characteristics of a tiger-type magical beast, and their strength greatly increased. The person at the peak of the 6th level of the origin transformation stage immediately made a move. There wasn't only one type of tiger-type martial soul. There were ordinary tiger martial souls, powerful snow tiger martial souls, strange dark illusion tiger martial souls, and so on. This was also the reason why the Wild Tiger Gang got its name. Everyone in this gang possessed a tiger-type martial soul. Die! The 5 people roared loudly as their 6th level origin transformation stage true essence madly circulated. They all executed powerful martial skills and charged towards Tianyang. Hearing this, Tianyang sneered. You should have said so earlier. I thought you were here to beg for mercy. Subsequently, a bloody light flashed and the killing sword appeared. Then, go see the King of Hell. Chapter 277. Tianyang's expression was calm as he indifferently looked at the attacks of the 5/6th level origin transformation stage cultivators. Even though they had unleashed their martial souls, the weakest was a low-grade mystic rank, while the strongest was close to a high-grade mystic rank. But to Tianyang, they were all trash. Destroy! Tianyang coldly shouted as the killing sword in his hand emitted a shocking light. In the next moment, a terrifying sword light suddenly exploded out. Boom! In an instant, the combined attack of the 5 was destroyed by Tianyang's sword. Following that, Tianyang's figure flashed as he used the dragon suppression step and charged forward. What? Seeing their combined attack being so easily destroyed by Tianyang, everyone was shocked as they looked at Tianyang in disbelief. At this moment, a cold light flashed and a stream of blood spurted out from one of their necks. One sword decapitated. The Skycloud sword slightly moved and the low-grade mystic rank martial soul was completely devoured. Light circulated on the killing sword as Tianyang's gaze turned and stared at another person. Not only did you dare to kill my Wild Tiger Gang's disciple, you even dared to do it in front of me, Zhang Qinghu. Kid, you're dead. The peak 6th level origin transformation stage cultivator roared as his mid-grade mystic rank martial soul completely exploded out. It was the dark illusion tiger martial soul. Conceal. A strange light flashed and the peak 6th level origin transformation stage cultivator's figure instantly disappeared from everyone's sight. At this moment, a gloomy and cold aura suddenly came from behind Tianyang. You dare to use a sneak attack with such despicable skills? Tianyang suddenly chuckled. The dark illusion tiger martial soul? The concealment ability wasn't bad, but in front of Tianyang's martial soul, which was at the peak of the Heaven Ascension stage, it was no different from showing off in front of Guan Yu. I originally planned to kill you last, but since you insist on courting death, then I'll kill you too. The corner of Tianyang's mouth curled into a trace of a brilliant smile. In the next moment, the killing sword in his hand released countless rays of blood. Blood drinker! Tianyang shouted coldly. In an instant, a hellish aura erupted from Tianyang's body. A ferocious aura swept through the entire area. Boom! The 6th level origin transformation stage martial artist that was targeted by Tianyang earlier was directly crushed into minced meat by this terrifying aura. Whereas, the peak 6th level origin transformation stage martial artist that was preparing to launch a sneak attack behind Tianyang, Zhang Qinghu, was blasted flying as well. Just his aura alone was enough to kill one and injure the other. With this little bit of strength, you dare to sneak attack me? Tianyang turned around, the killing sword in his hand pulsing with sword light as he said with a mocking smile. Hearing this, all the members of the Wild Tiger Gang were furious. Brat, you're courting death. Profound high-grade martial skill, Wild Tiger's slaughter. A 6th level origin transformation stage martial artist circulated his true essence and directly pounced over, intending to kill Tianyang. However, when his beast claw landed on Tianyang's body, he shockingly discovered that Tianyang's body was like a piece of iron. Not to mention killing him, he couldn't even leave a trace of a mark. Nonsense, if the heavenly dragon body was so weak, then it wouldn't be worthy of being called the most important turning point of the 9-tempered dragon body. I wonder how much stronger those rats from the lunar mountain are compared to you guys. Tianyang lightly laughed as he waved his hand, and the Wild Tiger Gang disciple that pounced over was directly killed by this sword. Seeing this, everyone's hearts shook as they looked at Tianyang in disbelief. Was this fellow really only at the peak of the 4th level origin transformation stage? Why was a 6th level origin transformation stage martial artist who used a martial soul and a profound high-grade martial skill so unable to withstand a single blow in his hands? As for Ouyang Ming, his face was ashen as he stared fixedly at Tianyang. If it wasn't for the fact that he was one of the strongest experts present and couldn't deal with the weak, otherwise, he would have dismembered Tianyang into 1,000 pieces right now. Your wild tiger gang only has this much strength? With a casual swing of his sword, he once again killed a 5th-level origin transformation stage martial artist who overestimated himself and wanted to kill Tianyang. Tianyang lightly laughed. Hearing this, Zhang Qinghu, who was sent flying earlier, couldn't endure it any longer. "I'll kill you!" With a wild roar, Zhang Qinghu madly charged over as he used his dark illusion tiger martial soul again. However, this time, he didn't conceal himself, but instead used the power of the darkness attribute. Profound high-grade martial skill, Nether Tiger Claw. Zhang Qinghu crazily roared. His peak 6th-level origin transformation stage true essence circulated rapidly and exploded towards Tianyang. A huge pitch-black tiger claw formed in an instant and floated in the air. In the next moment, it was about to smash down on Tianyang's head. Peerless profound ranked martial skills have all been wasted by you. Tianyang looked pitifully at the nether tiger claw, which was as long as a few people, as he shook his head and sighed. Seeing this, Zhang Qinghu was even more furious. Nether tiger claw, kill him. Then, the nether tiger claw gathered an endless black vortex and grew even larger. It slammed down on Tianyang. At this moment, Tianyang narrowed his eyes. The killing sword in his hand shone brightly. Sky Extreme Sword Art, Second Sword, Heaven Shattering. Tianyang's voice rang out. In the next moment, a pitch-black sword radiance containing boundless destructive sword will shot out from the tip of the killing sword. It fiercely collided with the huge tiger claw. Boom! Waves of energy rippled out in all directions along with the violent airwave. When everyone saw this, their faces changed and they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Some people even had expressions of pity on their faces. A genius has fallen just like that. What a pity, what a pity! As for Dugu Ao, his face was pale as he looked at Tianyang, who was enveloped by the black light. Could it be that Tianyang is going to die just like that? However, everyone understood in their hearts. Zhang Qinghu was infinitely close to the 7th level of the origin transformation stage. Not only did he unleash his martial soul, but he also used the peerless profound ranked martial skill, the Nether Tiger Claw. Wasn't it easy for him to deal with someone at the peak of the 4th level of the origin transformation stage? I said ruin, and you really King ruined it? You have the nerve to take out such a trashy cultivation stage. At this moment, an unhappy shout came from the black light. Then, a destructive sword radiance tore the black light apart. Behind the destructive sword radiance, the huge nether tiger claw was cut into pieces like a piece of meat on a chopping board. Then, the destructive sword radiance directly destroyed Zhang Qinghu's body, killing him. Then, the heaven-shattering sword swept through the crowd of wild tiger gang members, killing countless of them. Seeing Tianyang kill Zhang Qinghu as if he was slaughtering chickens, everyone's hearts trembled. This 4th level of the origin transformation stage youth was so strong. At this moment, Tianyang didn't wait for the battle to end after killing a group of trash. Instead, he casually waved his hand and scattered the destructive sword radiance that was almost finished. Then, he raised the killing sword and pointed it at Dongfang Zhuo. The tip of the killing sword flickered with a cold light. Chapter 278. What is he doing? He's actually provoking Dongfang Zhuo. And he's even pointing his sword at him. Is he crazy? Everyone was shocked as they looked at Tianyang's every move in disbelief. However, they knew who Dongfang Zhuo was. He was the strongest prodigy of the Dongfang clan in this generation. He could be said to be the most powerful sword genius in the Shaoqiong city. He had passed the second test on the 4th floor of the Sword Pagoda. He was originally in the top 5, but because of the appearance of Sword King Tianji, he had fallen to 6th. However, even so, Dongfang Zhuo's strength was not to be underestimated. However, This youth, at the peak of the fourth level of the origin transformation stage, actually pointed his sword at Dongfang Zhuo and even provoked him? Did he want to die? Dongfang Zhuo could not help but frown when he saw the glaring reflection of a sword pointed at him. He said coldly, "Do you know what you're doing?" "Of course." Tianyang smiled as he waved the killing sword in his hand. A faint sword chi shot out and was flattened by Dongfang Zhuo. This sword chi did not have any lethality. It only told Dongfang Zhuo that he was provoking him. "Do you know that I'm ranked 6th on the Sword Pagoda tablet, the strongest prodigy of the Dongfang clan, whose cultivation has reached the 8th level of the origin transformation stage, Dongfang Zhuo?" Dongfang Zhuo's expression was gloomy as he looked at Tianyang. The sword from before was obviously provoking him. If he didn't make any response, then his reputation would be completely ruined. Tianyang smiled faintly when he heard this. "I don't care where you're from. I only know that you don't like me for some reason, so you incited this group of people to kill each other. Indeed, if I can kill some people will obtain the treasures, but it will also make the situation more chaotic. In the chaos, a person with a weak cultivation like me will naturally be finished. Isn't that so?" Tianyang smiled. Everyone shuddered when they heard this. They all felt a chill run down their spines. Indeed, a single sentence from Dongfang Zhuo had caused them to kill each other. In that chaotic situation, if Dongfang Zhuo had acted, wouldn't it have been very easy for him to kill them all? To think that they had thought that by killing the weak, they would be able to reduce the pressure of the upcoming competition. Little did they know that it was all for Dongfang Zhuo. "So what if I am a weakling like you should die, yet you're still vainly trying to get your hands on a treasure like the violet elegant flower?" Dongfang Zhuo's expression was cold as he glared at Tianyang. His heart was already burning with rage. In his opinion, Tianyang was just an ant. However, this ant actually dared to provoke him. According to his logic, Tianyang should obediently commit suicide and then hand over the purple silk flower. If that's the case, then it's easy to handle. Tianyang let out a smile upon hearing this. Following this, the killing sword in his hand shuddered slightly. The annihilation spiritual fire, which had already been refined by Tianyang and was proficient in controlling, slowly rose from the center of his palm. Seeing the deep black flame, Dongfang Zhuo's body shuddered as he recognized the origin of the pitch-black flame. He said in disbelief, You actually have the spiritual fire." Following this trace of disbelief immediately turned into greed. "How dare an ant like you have the spiritual fire? Hand it over obediently. Moreover, you dare to violate the dignity of the Dongfang family. You will die without a doubt." Dongfang Zhuo roared loudly. Following this, the 8th level of the origin transformation stage's inner yuan exploded from his body. His figure flashed through the air and viciously charged towards Tianyang. Profound upper-grade martial technique, cross-sword slash. Dongfang Zhuo roared as the inner yuan in his body circulated rapidly. The long sword in his hand instantly drew a cross and viciously charged towards Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang laughed coldly. As expected, the sons of the aristocratic families are all the same. You want to kill me and steal my treasure, yet you still insist on a dignified reason. However, since you're making a move, I'll take care of you. Following this, the killing sword in Tianyang's hand bloomed. In the next moment, the heavenly dragon's dragon core in Tianyang's heart exploded with endless dragon energy and slowly gathered on the killing sword. Following this, the heavenly dragon's imperial sword was formed. Slash! Tianyang roared. In the next moment, he fiercely collided with Dongfang Zhuo's cross sword slash. Boom! A terrifying explosion sounded in the air. Layers of violent airwaves even pushed back the surrounding 6th or 7th level of the origin transformation stage cultivators. And in the air, Tianyang and Dongfang Zhuo constantly clashed with their swords, energy ripples spreading outwards. F***ck. Who is this young man? He can actually fight so fiercely with Dongfang Zhuo, who's ranked 6th on the Sword Pagoda tablet. This young man's inner yuan cultivation is far inferior to Dongfang Zhuo's. Even so, he can still compete with Dongfang Zhuo. His sword cultivation is definitely extraordinary. The crowd was shocked. At this moment Tianyang, who was in the middle of the battle, suddenly raised his eyebrows. The heavenly dragon emperor's sword in his hand exploded with immense force and pushed Dongfang Zhuo away. At this moment, an extremely dense silk flower fragrance was completely released. The energy barrier that countless people were helpless against also automatically disintegrated. The purple silk flower had matured. It was time to fight for it. I'm not playing with you anymore. You can be arrogant on your own. Tianyang laughed loudly. Then, he used the air-stepping secret technique and charged toward the purple silk flower with extreme speed. However, at the lakeside, countless people had already noticed the movements of the violet elegant flowers. The moment the flowers bloomed, they all rushed over. Ha ha! I got it! At this moment, the fastest person picked up the purple silk flower from the ground and laughed maniacally as he sniffed the flower's fragrance. Seeing this, Ouyang Ming and Dongfang Zhuo's expressions changed. They could not be bothered with Tianyang anymore. They immediately rushed over and attacked. Divine Wind Wave Fist. Dragon Crushing Sword. Ouyang Ming and Dongfang Zhuo roared at the same time. Terrifying attacks were released from their hands and blasted toward that person. Before that person could finish laughing, his physical body was shattered by this attack. Even his soul was smashed into smithereens, and his soul was scattered. Once that person died, the purple silk flower immediately became an ownerless object. This belongs to the Wild Tiger Gang. If you don't want to offend the Wild Tiger Gang, then all of you should scram. At this moment, Ouyang Ming finally arrived at the small island in the middle of the lake. He snatched the purple silk flower and stood on the spot. He circulated his inner energy and roared wildly in all directions. His voice was so loud that even the lake rippled with his roar. At this moment, Dongfang Zhuo finally arrived. Others may be afraid of the Wild Tiger Gang, but the Dongfang family will not be afraid of a bandit. Hand over the purple silk flower obediently and I'll spare your life. Dongfang Zhuo roared. Then, he brandished the long sword in his hand and charged toward Ouyang Ming. The others also went crazy and rushed forward to fight for the purple silk flower. Following the birth of the purple silk flower, the lakeside immediately turned into a bloody meat grinder. Chapter 279. Kill! At that moment, at least a dozen people had died fighting over the purple silk flower on the island in the middle of the lake. These people were not weaklings either. The weakest among them was at the 3rd level of the origin transformation stage, while the strongest was at the same level as Zhang Qinghu. Although the purple radish flower was still in Ouyang Ming's hands, he had become the target of public criticism and was besieged by everyone. The purple silk flower was like a hot potato. If Ouyang Ming held it in his hands, he would only end up being surrounded. The island in the middle of the lake had turned into a slaughterhouse, a meat grinder for the origin transformation stage cultivators. Money really does move people's hearts. This treasure is much more valuable than money. It's no wonder these people are so crazy about it. Tianyang shook his head and smiled faintly as he watched the fight on the island in the middle of the lake. Ling Yuhan was stunned when she heard this. She asked curiously, "Master, why aren't we doing anything? The strongest person here is Dongfang Zhuo. With Master's strength, it should be easy to take care of Dongfang Zhuo." Tianyang had provoked Dongfang Zhuo before and even fought him. He was not at a disadvantage, and had even forced Dongfang Zhuo to spit out a mouthful of blood. However, now that the purple silk flower had matured and caused a storm of blood, it was the best time to fight over it. Why was Tianyang not doing anything? To others, the purple silk flower could be used as a cultivation cheat and a natural spirit-gathering array. However, if it fell into Tianyang's hands, the purple silk flower was not an ordinary plant. It could not be used to refine pills. At least, Tianyang did not know how to refine pills with the purple silk flower in his possession. However, Tianyang could still maximize the effects of the purple silk flower. This was because the spirit-gathering array that Tianyang controlled just so happened to require the purple lotus flower as a catalyst. If it was successfully set up, then Tianyang's cultivation speed would be able to surpass all other geniuses on the basis of Tian Yuan and True Yuan. After all, this was the purple silk flower. This was the spirit-gathering array controlled by the Tianji Sword Emperor. Could it be that you think that only these people are competing with us? At this time, facing Ling Yuhan's doubts, Tianyang said indifferently. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan was stunned. She thought of something. Could it be? That's right. That bunch of idiot. Do they really think that they can snatch the purple silk flowers just because they've matured? Don't they know how to do some environmental detection before the battle? I really don't know if he's an idiot or a retard to start robbing when he's not familiar with the place. Tianyang sneered. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan was taken aback. She released her soul force to check the surroundings. Nothing. At that instant, the entire lake began to move. Originally, the Great Lake was only stirred up by the battle between these people. But now, the entire surface of the lake was surging with raging waves. On the originally clear lake, a huge black shadow seemed to have appeared. In the next moment, the black shadow broke out of the water. Roar! A deafening roar came from the bottom of the lake. In the next moment, a terrifying aura filled the entire area, suppressing everyone's aura. Then, a black dragon flew out of the lake. It had a powerful aura of at least the 9th level of the origin transformation realm. This is the strongest person in this battle. These idiots are going to suffer. Tianyang stood by the lake and smiled faintly. At this time, on the small island in the middle of the lake, someone finally noticed the movement in the lake. When they saw the black dragon, they were so shocked that they almost suffocated. What kind of dragon was that? Its body was at least 100 feet long and its width was close to 10 feet. Its entire body was covered in pitch-black scales. Normal attacks would not be able to penetrate it. As for the huge dragon horn, although it was not mature and was not as huge as a real dragon's, it was enough to prove its bloodline. A dragon. Moreover, it was at the peak of the 3rd level. In terms of combat power, it was not inferior to the red dragon named Ao Ling that Tianyang met in the fearsome beast mountain range. Oh my God! Being stared at by the dragon's cold eyes, the person who noticed the dragon immediately took a few steps back in fear. At this time, the powerful aura attracted the attention of the people who were fighting. When they noticed the dragon, they immediately stopped what they were doing. Their faces were extremely pale. There was actually such a powerful dragon hidden in the lake. A dragon at the 9th level of the origin transformation realm, or even at the peak of the origin transformation realm, actually appeared here. Ouyang Ming's face was pale. Previously, because he had the purple silk flower, he was surrounded by countless people. Although he could still stand, his combat power was already less than 10%. Now, he had finally managed to save his life from Dongfang Zhuo and the others. Was he going to be eaten by this dragon? Every time a treasure appears, there will be a guardian beast. Of course, this guardian beast is also here to eat the treasure. If this was some kind of dangerous place, it would be fine. However, not only is this not a dangerous place, there is also a huge lake. Furthermore, didn't you notice that the ferocious demonic beasts in the Onyx mountain range are all gone? Even an idiot would know that there must be some kind of powerful demonic beast here. Tianyang laughed. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan nodded carefully. This was the experience of a veteran treasure hunter. In his previous life, Tianyang had encountered many guardian beasts when he was searching for treasures. If not for his good luck, he would have died in the dragon's mouth during a treasure hunt. Young Master Dongfang, you have to save us. You're the only one here who can fight against this flood dragon. The dragon had not made a move, but its terrifying aura was suffocating everyone. Finally, one of them could not hold it in and shouted at Dongfang Zhuo. Hearing this, Dongfang Zhuo's face turned even uglier. Looking at the huge dragon, he was not confident. After all, this was a dragon, and not an ordinary one. Looking at the completeness of its dragon horn, it might have more than 50% of the true dragon's bloodline. As a member of the Dongfang family, I can't just sit by and do nothing in the face of a ferocious beast. However, the situation was dire. If he did not make a move, he would definitely die. Dongfang Zhuo had no choice but to step forward. Looking at the dragon, Dongfang Zhuo's heart was weak, but he still spoke sanctimoniously. This dragon's target must be the purple fancy flower. Yang, give it to me and I'll help you deal with this dragon, Dongfang Zhuo said. Hearing this, Yang was stunned. Then, he struggled for a while and threw the purple fancy flower over. After catching the flower, Dongfang Zhuo gripped the longsword in his hand tightly and looked at the dragon. In the next moment, the vital essence in his body exploded. Then, Dongfang Zhuo's figure immediately appeared a few hundred meters behind everyone, and he was still accelerating. Ha ha ha! A bunch of fools, who will help you deal with the dragon? The purple fancy flower is mine, you can deal with this dragon yourselves. Chapter 280. Dongfang Zhuo actually ran away? Seeing Dongfang Zhuo, who had unleashed his secret technique and was rapidly flying into the distance, everyone on the small island at the center of the lake was stunned. Some of the girls who had feelings for Dongfang Zhuo were even more dazed and in disbelief. Dongfang Zhuo was the strongest genius in the Dongfang family. He was ranked 6th on the Sword Pagoda tablet and his cultivation level was at the 8th level of the Origin Transformation stage. With such talent, such status, and a face that was not considered ugly, Dongfang Zhuo became the Prince Charming in the hearts of the girls in Night Dome City. However, at this moment, the Prince Charming ran away. Furthermore, he ran away with the purple silk flower that Yang had given him to fight against the black dragon. Everyone was dumbfounded. Dongfang Zhuo running away at the last minute was like a huge bomb to them. This guy, how can he be so shameless? Tianyang was also speechless. He thought that Dongfang Zhuo was just and honorable, and his entire body seemed to be glowing with a golden light as if he was going to sacrifice himself for justice. In the end, he ran away with the money? Ah, no, not with the money, he ran away with the treasure. Shameless! Shameless! On the island in the middle of the lake, an elder was so angry that his face turned red. His chest rose and fell violently as the aura of the 7th level of the Origin Transformation stage fluctuated continuously. Dongfang Zhuo looked back and saw that the black dragon did not chase after him. He stopped and stood on a mountain top as he laughed maniacally. Ha ha! A bunch of idiots! Who am I? I am the young master of the Dongfang family. Why would I risk my life for a bunch of lowly commoners like you? And that idiot bandit, thank you for giving me the purple silk flower. Don't worry, after I refine it, I will come back to avenge you. Dongfang Zhuo laughed maniacally. Hearing this, the crowd was even angrier as they glared at Dongfang Zhuo. However, the black dragon did not seem to want to chase after Dongfang Zhuo. This shocked the crowd. Wasn't the black dragon the guardian beast of the purple silk flower? Why did the black dragon not move when the purple silk flower was stolen? It actually refined it. Is the Dongfang family retarded? Tianyang was speechless as he looked at Dongfang Zhuo. Refine? Refining a wondrous item like the purple silk flower would be a waste. However, Tianyang didn't care about Dongfang Zhuo's arrogance. Instead, he turned his gaze towards the black serpent. This fellow actually didn't chase after them? Something's fishy. Tianyang's brows arched, and the powerful spiritual strength of a peak heavenly completion stage spread out, instantly enveloping the entire lake. Soon after, a cool feeling was transmitted to Tianyang's soul sea, making Tianyang feel comfortable. Not bad. So there's such a miraculous item on this small island at the center of the lake. No wonder the purple silk flower would appear here. The corners of Tianyang's mouth curled up slightly. At this moment, the black dragon finally moved. Its icy and large dragon eyes swept across the crowd before glancing at Dongfang Zhuo, who had snatched the purple radish flower. In the next moment, the pitch-black serpent dragon immediately soared into the air. This group of people posed no threat to it at all. However, the fellow who had snatched its purple radish flower was very fast. It was possible that he could snatch the purple radish flower away. In the next moment, the black serpent's figure disappeared on the spot as it charged towards Dongfang Zhuo. What? Dongfang Zhuo's face turned pale at the sight of the black serpent's sudden attack. He had thought that the black serpent hadn't attacked earlier because it didn't care about the purple radish flower. In the end, this fellow had only been waiting for him to let down his guard. But he had actually let down his guard and was actually standing there mocking them. Damn it! With a flash of light, Dongfang Zhuo put the purple radish flower into his space bag. Circulating his true yuan, he charged forward. He knew that if he wanted to run, there was no way he could escape. He could only fight with his life on the line. Cross/. Dongfang Zhuo roared, his true yuan surging within him. In the next moment, the long sword in his hand slashed out a bloody cross and charged towards the black serpent. Roar! The black flood dragon roared, and in the next moment, a strange black circle of light shot out from its mouth and collided with the cross/. Boom! A terrifying ray of light exploded in midair, followed by a series of violent shock waves. The shock wave was so violent that it even caused huge waves to form on the surface of the lake. Seeing this, those who wanted to take the opportunity to escape retreated with pale faces. Just the aftermath of the battle was already so powerful. If the black serpent saw them leave and turned around to roar at them, wouldn't they immediately die? The serpent itself was extremely terrifying. Moreover, the black serpent's cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level of the origin transformation stage. Cultivation and combat strength were completely suppressed. How could they not feel despair? Damn it, how can this bastard be so strong? Dongfang Zhuo, who was fighting fiercely in midair, wasn't having a good time either. The black serpent's every move was fatal. If he wasn't careful, he might really die here. Bastard! Dongfang Zhuo roared. In the next moment, the long sword in his hand emitted a shocking ray of light. At the same time, Dongfang Zhuo's arrogant laughter rang out in midair. This is the sword move I used to pass the second test of the 4th level of the Sword Pagoda. With this move, I defeated the half-step to the origin transformation stage Tianji Sword Emperor. So die for me, bastard. Medium Earth rank martial skill, Broken Dragon. Dongfang Zhuo roared. In the next moment, a sword light that contained boundless killing intent condensed on the longsword. Then, it turned into a terrifying sword light that sent chills down one's spine. It's actually a medium Earth rank martial skill. The black serpent might not be able to block it. Dugu Ao's expression changed as he looked at the sword light that had condensed. Not only that, but this sword also contains the power of the upper rank treasure. The black serpent might not be able to block it, an elder at the side said with a solemn expression. He didn't expect Dongfang Zhuo to be so capable. This person was evil by nature. If he had such strength, he might have committed all kinds of evil deeds and become a devil more vicious than Ouyang Ming. However, the surrounding people didn't think of this. Instead, they cheered when they saw Dongfang Zhuo's powerful strength. Kill this bastard! Kill it! The crowd roared. At this moment, Dongfang Zhuo laughed arrogantly. Haha! Once the broken dragon is out, Who can fight against it? A mere black serpent dares to fight against me. Die! Dongfang Zhuo roared. In the next moment, the sword light of the broken dragon shot out. At this moment, the black serpent let out a long cry and met the attack head-on. Haha, it dares to attack in the face of the broken dragon. This bastard is dead meat. Seeing this, the crowd laughed maniacally. At this moment, Tianyang sighed leisurely. This fellow is dead meat. Do you think the Black Thunder Jiao is so easy to deal with? At this moment, the black serpent suddenly spat out a mouthful of black lightning. It expanded in the air, and was comparable to the island in the middle of the lake that the crowd was standing on. In the next moment, the broken dragon was completely. Chapter 281. The Black Thunder Jiao. It was born at the peak of the second level, which was equivalent to the peak of the aura illuminating stage. If it matured, it could even reach the beginning of the fourth level, which was equivalent to the first level of the Dao Fire realm. If it evolved, the Black Thunder Jiao could even reach the peak of the fourth level. Such a demonic beast was already very powerful. Moreover, the Black Thunder Jiao was named after black lightning, so it naturally had a special ability. The black lightning that had devoured the dragon-slaying sword in front of everyone was the Black Lightning Divine ability. What? Dongfang Zhuo's face was extremely pale. His entire body trembled when he saw his most powerful attack being devoured by the black lightning. That was a mid-grade Earth-tier martial skill. Even in the Dongfang family, not everyone could cultivate it. However, this bastard that came out of nowhere killed him in a single move. It's over. Even Dongfang Zhuo's Earth intermediate martial skill could not defeat this beast. We can't fight it either. Who would have thought that my life would end on this island in the middle of the lake? On the island in the middle of the lake, some people were pale as they looked at the Black Thunder Jiao that was forcefully flying in midair. At the peak of the origin transformation stage, one could forcefully fly. However, it consumed a lot of true yuan. However, for a huge demonic beast like the Black Thunder Jiao with a terrifying cultivation level, this consumption was still acceptable. What did flying represent? Speed, accuracy, and ruthlessness. Flexibility. If these people were to run in all directions, they might be able to escape. However, if the Black Thunder Jiao flew, these cultivators, who were at the peak of the 7th level of the origin transformation stage, would definitely not be able to escape. You can't kill me. If you kill me, the Dongfang family will not let you off. At this moment, Dongfang Zhuo had already fallen to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. The dragon-slaying sword had been broken. Under the influence of the qi, his internal organs had been shaken and he had suffered heavy injuries. His handsome face was ghastly pale. He pointed at the Black Thunder spiritual Jiao with a trembling finger and threatened. Roar. The Black Thunder Jiao let out a long roar, completely ignoring Dongfang Zhuo's threat. It was a free magical beast, so why would it care about the threat of a human family? If it could obtain the purple silk flower and the treasures on the small island in the middle of the lake, its strength would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. It would no longer need to worry about the human aristocratic families. Roar! The Black Thunder Jiao roared again, its voice rolling like thunder, causing countless waves to rise on the surface of the lake. This time, it was even louder than before. Dongfang Zhuo understood that if he still did not hand over the purple silk flower, this pitch-black flood dragon would definitely swallow him whole. After all, an interspatial bag was not complicated to use. As long as one had true energy to activate it, regardless of the origin, even an ordinary person would be able to open it. The only obstacle was the imprint. However, if the person was dead, how could the imprint of the soul still exist? Fine. You don't have to do it, I'll hand it over. Dongfang Zhuo's face was pale as he took a few steps back. He was afraid that the Black Thunder Jiao would go crazy and kill him. He was going to challenge the Dao Fire State. He could not die here. As for the people on the small island in the middle of the lake, so what if they died? After all, they were just a bunch of lowly commoners. They could not compare to him, the young master of the Dongfang family. Then, the interspatial bag moved, and a beautiful flower appeared in Dongfang Zhuo's hand. At this moment, Dongfang Zhuo's eyes flashed with hatred as he looked at Tianyang, who was watching the show from the side of the lake. "How dare you laugh at me? You ant, even if I die, don't think you'll have an easy time." In the next moment, Dongfang Zhuo channeled the true energy in his hand and shot out the purple silk flower. Its target was Tianyang. The moment the purple silk flower left his hand, it immediately turned into a stream of light formed by the fusion of purple and pink. Seeing this, Tianyang narrowed his eyes and stretched out his hand to catch the purple silk flower. At this moment, the people on the small island in the middle of the lake could no longer bear to watch. "Young hero, don't take it. This is Dongfang Zhuo's scheme to kill with a borrowed knife. If you take it, the black flood dragon will kill you," an old man shouted. Hearing this, Dongfang Zhuo's expression turned ugly. He waved his right hand and said, "Old man, you talk too much." In the next moment, a stream of true energy condensed in his hand and shot out. The old man who had advised Tianyang earlier was hit in the chest by the true energy stream. He spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed. Although he hadn't died yet, he had suffered heavy injuries. "Bastard!" Seeing this, even Ouyang Ming could not bear to watch any longer. He roared at Dongfang Zhuo, "How can you do this? Ha! So what if I do this? All of you, just you wait. Once the dragon eats the kid, I'll call the elders in the family to kill the dragon and kill all of you," Dongfang Zhuo said arrogantly. Hearing this, everyone was enraged. At this moment, Tianyang had already caught the purple silk flower and looked at the Black Thunder Jiao indifferently. The Black Thunder Jiao also turned its huge dragon head and looked at Tianyang coldly. Tianyang narrowed his eyes. In the next moment, the Black Thunder Jiao moved and charged at Tianyang with extreme speed. "Kid, hurry up and throw it away," the old man from before roared. Hearing this, Tianyang's lips curled into a faint smile. The world of martial arts wasn't completely cold after all. "It's rare that I'm in a good mood. You bastard, just scram." Tianyang turned his head and looked at the Black Thunder Jiao that was almost in his face. He released his overwhelming dragon power. The Sky Dragon's dragon elixir was activated and extremely pure dragon energy burst out from his body. The horrifying dragon power suppressed the Black Thunder spiritual snake directly. The Black Thunder Jiao's expression changed and it immediately stopped. However, its inertia caused it to move forward a little more. The pressure from the bloodline made the Black Thunder Jiao feel the deepest fear in its heart. The contempt it looked at Tianyang turned into fear. This bloodline was more than enough to crush it to death. Seeing that the Black Thunder Jiao still dared to move forward, Tianyang frowned and shouted again. "Get down!" Boom! The Black Thunder Jiao's huge body fell to the ground. The extremely powerful bloodline pressure made it unable to control its body. After all, no matter how strong the Black Thunder Jiao was, it was only a dragon. Tianyang had already become a sky dragon. A sky dragon. One more step and he would become a true dragon. At this moment, the crowd was dumbfounded when they saw how Tianyang had suppressed the Black Thunder spiritual Jiao with just a few sentences. Who was this young man? Why was he able to suppress the terrifying Black Thunder Jiao with a flip of his hand? Since you only wanted to protect this purple silk flower and didn't kill a single person, I won't kill you, Tianyang said indifferently. His casual manner caused everyone's hearts to tremble. How could the Black Thunder spiritual Jiao, who was suppressed by the bloodline pressure, resist? It nodded continuously like a chick pecking at rice. However, you can avoid death, but you can't escape punishment. Go, eat that arrogant guy who thinks he's reincarnated and I'll spare your life. Tianyang's lips curled into a smile as he pointed at Dongfang Zhuo and shouted. The Black Thunder Jiao nodded when it heard that. It rose into the air and turned around. A fierce light flashed in its eyes as it aimed at Dongfang Zhuo. Chapter 282. Hearing Tianyang's words, many people on the island couldn't help but burst into laughter. Now that the Black Thunder Jiao had been subdued by Tianyang, it naturally couldn't continue to harm them. Thus they were relieved. The only one who had to worry about his own safety was Dongfang Zhuo. Sigh, young people these days really can't be underestimated. The old man from before also stood up after taking a pill to recover from his injuries and looked at Tianyang. He sighed as he watched the Black Thunder Jiao fight with Dongfang Zhuo. Previously, he had tried his best to dissuade Tianyang from accepting the purple silk flower. He didn't expect Tianyang to be so strong that he could even suppress the Black Thunder Jiao with just a few words. Although they didn't know the reason, they knew that Tianyang was very strong. That's true. Ouyang Ming walked up from the side and looked at Tianyang with a complicated expression. Young people these days really can't be underestimated. On the other hand, Dugu Ao sighed as he looked at Tianyang's back. He knew that he would never be able to catch up to Tianyang in this lifetime. Bastard! At this moment, Dongfang Zhuo was being chased by the Black Thunder Jiao and was retreating step by step. He spat out blood and his aura weakened even more. Kid! If you kill me, the Dongfang family won't let you off. Hearing this, Tianyang dug his ears and looked at Dongfang Zhuo mockingly. I've already offended the Nangong family, why would I care about the Dongfang family? To be honest, I don't need to be afraid of any of the 4 great families of Night Dome City. Hearing this, the crowd was shocked. This young man actually dared to spout such arrogant words that he didn't need to be afraid of the 4 great families of Night Dome City? However, when they thought of Tianyang's ability to summon clouds and rain with a flip of his hand, they were convinced. After all, to be able to nurture such a powerful genius, he definitely wasn't a weak force. Perhaps he really didn't need to be afraid of the 4 great families of Night Dome City. Damn it! Seeing that his threat was useless, Dongfang Zhuo gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. His eyes looked like they were about to spit out flames. You forced me to do this, Dongfang Zhuo shouted. His interspatial bag moved, and a talisman with mysterious runes appeared in his hand. Die! Bastard! Dongfang Zhuo let out a wild roar. His 8th-level origin transformation stage True Yuan completely erupted and poured all of it into the talisman. In the next moment, the talisman suddenly exploded with a boundless light. This is an attack from a First Firmament Dao Fire Realm Elder of the Dongfang family. You're just a little peak transformation realm magical beast. Die here. Dongfang Zhuo laughed out loud. At the same time, the talisman exploded with a shocking light and also released a boundless aura. Once he released his aura, the expressions of everyone present greatly changed. There were even some who couldn't help but kneel on the ground. As for Dugu Ao, Ouyang Ming, the old man, and the others who were able to stand, they looked at Tianyang with worried expressions. This was a strike from a Dao Fire Realm expert. If Tianyang or the Black Thunder Jiao were to be hit by it, they would definitely die. A strike from a First Firmament Dao Fire Realm expert? Hearing this, Tianyang frowned slightly. The way he looked at the talisman also changed slightly. I knew that this *T genius would have some secret items on him. Fine, I'll do it myself. Tianyang sighed softly and used the dragon subduing step. In the blink of an eye, he took a few steps and arrived next to the Black Thunder Jiao. At the same time, the talisman had also prepared its True Yuan and exploded with a shocking attack. Boom! A fist imprint exploded from the talisman. The unique aura of a Dao Fire Realm expert even caused cracks to appear in the space around it. Seeing this, the Black Thunder Spiritual Dragon let out a long cry and used its Black Thunder super skill. A terrifying black thunderbolt burst out. Roar! At the same time, Tianyang also summoned the Sky Firmament Sword. His eyes narrowed slightly and a dangerous light flashed through his eyes. In the next moment, Tianyang rushed forward. The killing sword was thrown into the air, and Tianyang immediately formed countless mysterious hand seals. The countless hand seals fused into one, forming a terrifying sky-devouring vortex. Heaven rank midgrade, sky-devouring seal. Boom. The fist of the Tao Fire Realm landed on the vortex and immediately destroyed it. However, this fist was also weakened by a lot. At the same time, the Black Thunder also attacked the fist mark and weakened it again. Dragon King Divine Fist. Tianyang roared again, his Sky Origin True Yuan surging. The Sky Dragon's dragon core continued to release endless dragon power and condensed on Tianyang's fist. In the next moment, a powerful martial skill belonging to the Dragon Clan bloomed with his power. Boom, 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 boom. Fist met fist, and in an instant, a series of explosions erupted. Tianyang's expression instantly became extremely ugly, and the skin on his arm even burst open inch by inch. This fist was not only from a Tao Fire Realm First Level, but it was also from an extremely strong Tao Fire Realm First Level. Ha ha ha. Kid, in the face of a Tao Fire Realm Expert's fist, you're just a piece of trash. Dongfang Zhuo laughed wildly. At this time, Tianyang's dragon power was almost exhausted, but Tianyang still burst out again. His body shook, and the fist mark was pushed back by 10 feet. At this time, Tianyang raised his right hand into the sky and caught the killing sword that was thrown away earlier. The dragon power boiled, condensing into an incomparably terrifying Sky Dragon Emperor sword and attached to the killing sword. At the same time, the Annihilation Spirit fire burned. Sky Extreme Sword Art, Second Sword, Shatter the Heavens. Tianyang roared, and the killing sword in his hand slashed out violently. A pitch-black destructive sword light was released from the killing sword's blade. In the next moment, it collided with the fist mark of a Tao Fire Realm First Level expert. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying explosions immediately covered all the sounds in the area. Seeing this, Dongfang Zhuo laughed wildly. Ha ha. It's useless. The strength of a Tao Fire Realm expert is not something you can understand. Trash, go to hell obediently. Hearing this, Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly. He looked at the burning Annihilation Spirit fire and the sword light that was entangled with the fist mark, and the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Is that so? In the next moment, the Annihilation Spirit fire suddenly unleashed its power, and the Annihilation Sword essence completely erupted. In the next moment, the fist mark was also completely shattered by the extremely terrifying Annihilation Sword essence. What? Dongfang Zhuo's expression changed drastically, and he was about to escape, but how could the Annihilation Sword essence give him the chance? Damn it! Half-step to Earth-rank Martial Soul, White Tiger. Dongfang Zhuo roared wildly, and many characteristics of the White Tiger appeared all over his body, and his combat strength skyrocketed. But what was the use of this? The Annihilation Sword essence swept past, and Dongfang Zhuo immediately turned into minced meat that splattered everywhere. The mighty White Tiger shadow also collapsed instantly, and the power of his White Tiger martial soul was completely devoured by Tianyang. In the next moment, the Annihilation Spirit fire rose and burned Dongfang Zhuo's soul into ashes. Chapter 283. Dongfang Zhuo was dead, and the Black Thunder Jiao had been subdued by Tianyang. There was no one here who could threaten Tianyang. However, none of the people above left. Instead, they stood obediently on the spot and did not find it crowded. In their opinion, Tianyang, who could subdue the Black Thunder Jiao, withstand the full force attack of a first-level Tao Fire Realm expert, and kill Dongfang Zhuo, was even more terrifying. Tsk tisk. Tianyang walked on the wave. His feet stepped on the water surface, but he did not feel like he was sinking. He walked all the way to the small island in the middle of the lake. When the people on the island saw Tianyang coming over, They all made way for him, afraid that they would accidentally anger Tianyang and kill him in a rage. Everyone, do you not want to leave? Seeing everyone's reserved expressions, Tianyang chuckled and joked. Hearing this, everyone trembled. Some timid people even knelt down and cried, I have a 90-year-old mother and a 3-year-old child. I can't die. Young hero, please be magnanimous and let us go. When we return, we will definitely repay you. Hearing this, everyone came to their senses and knelt down in a flurry. Tianyang's mouth twitched, speechless. The scene was extremely awkward. However, it was Ling Yuhan who came to the rescue. Master was just joking to ease the atmosphere. There's no need to be like this. Hearing this, everyone still did not believe it. Seeing that Tianyang's expression did not change, they came to their senses and stood up. On the other hand, Dugu Ao looked at Tianyang with a strange expression. I thought you were really bullying the weak and the strong. You even want to bully a group of weaklings like us. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression became even more awkward. Alright. When everyone recovered, Tianyang paused and said, Since all of you are here, then it's easy to talk. I don't want what happened here today to spread and be heard by the people of Night Dome City. Tianyang said in a deep voice. Hearing this, everyone nodded one after another, indicating that they would not spread the news. They were well aware of the meaning behind Tianyang's words. After all, Dongfang Zhuo was the most powerful genius of the Dongfang family. The Dongfang family would never let this matter rest. If they found the Tianyang, even if the Tianyang had a huge force behind him, it would still be a big problem. Seeing that everyone nodded in agreement, Tianyang also nodded slightly. He also knew that with so many people here, there would definitely be people who would work for the 4 great clans. Perhaps they would spread the news as soon as they left the dark Nether Mountains. However, Tianyang did not care. He would deal with whatever came his way. So what if it was the Dongfang family? Then, I'll say one last thing. Tianyang looked around at the crowd and said, Next, I'm going to do something here. You'd better stay as far away as possible. If I discover that someone is still nearby and intends to watch this place. As Tianyang spoke, a dangerous glint flashed across his eyes. He moved his killing sword and slashed out a ray of sword chi. Then, the sword aura directly split the calm lake into 2. In the middle was a dry passage that connected to the lake. On both sides of the passage, the lake water formed a water wall that looked extremely terrifying. This remarkable ability was simply too terrifying. I'll experience the style of this sword. Perhaps I'll end up like Dongfang Zhuo. Hearing this, everyone shuddered. End up like Dongfang Zhuo? Didn't that mean that not only would they die, but they would also die without a corpse? Yes. I promise to stay far away. Young hero, since you've spoken, how could we dare to disobey? We promise to leave the dark Nether Mountains and not disturb you at all. Everyone swore an oath one after another, vowing solemnly that they would not get close. They were all afraid. The strength that Tianyang had displayed earlier was already able to block the full-strength attack of a first-level Dao Fire Realm expert. In other words, he could contend against a quasi-Dao Fire Realm expert. In addition, Tianyang's sword move just now displayed a terrifying sword cultivation, causing them to be unable to help but feel fear. Such cultivation, such strength, and such an age, he was simply too strong. That's good. Tianyang smiled and nodded. Then, everyone dispersed. Just as they said, they all left the dark Nether Mountains. There was only one way out of the dark Nether Mountains. Tianyang's powerful soul power could naturally detect it clearly. This group of people had indeed left. However, what are you doing here? Tianyang looked at Ouyang beside him and said indifferently. Ouyang was the leader of the Wild Tiger Gang. During the chaotic battle earlier, Tianyang had killed many people from the Wild Tiger Gang. He had a grudge against Ouyang. Now that Tianyang had displayed his strength, Ouyang definitely knew that he was no match for Tianyang. Then, why was he still staying here? Was he waiting to be cut down? Young hero, I was ashamed of the foolish actions of the members of the Wild Tiger Gang. Please don't pursue the matter. Ouyang Ming knelt on the ground and said to Tianyang. Although the Wild Tiger Gang was a large bandit group around Shaoqiong City, they were still bandits after all. They could only do some ordinary plundering. Therefore, the Wild Tiger Gang was not large. The strongest person was Ouyang Ming, who was not enough to be killed by Tianyang with a single strike. However, Tianyang had heard from Dugu Ao before he left that although the Wild Tiger Gang was a bandit, they only robbed the rich to help the poor. They never robbed recklessly, which was why he had stayed. Otherwise, Tianyang would have killed him with a single strike. As if he was afraid that Tianyang would not agree, Ouyang Ming even slapped his own face. He did not hold back at all. Not long after, his entire face was swollen. Of course. Do I look like a petty person? Tianyang said indifferently. Hearing this, Ouyang Ming was delighted. He stopped slapping himself, but he did not stand up. He still knelt on the ground and pleaded, "Young hero, I still have a presumptuous request. There's no need to say any more. I've already seen through it. After the new student trial is over, just go to Sky Blue College to look for me." Before Ouyang Ming could say anything, he interrupted him rudely and ordered him to leave. Hearing this, Ouyang Ming was not angry. Instead, he was happy. He stood up. "Thank you for your kindness, young hero." Then, Ouyang Ming hurriedly circulated his vital essence and quickly left the dark abyss mountain range. For a moment there were no other creatures around the lake except for Tianyang, Ling Yuhan, and the Black Thunder Jiao. At this time, Tianyang also patted the Black Thunder Jiao's head. "Lead the way." Apart from the purple silk flowers, this small island in the middle of the lake had an even bigger secret. After being patted like this, even if the Black Thunder Jiao was unwilling, it could only lead the way. The pressure from his bloodline was enough to kill it. Soon, with the Black Thunder Jiao leading the way, Tianyang and Ling Yuhan found a treasure land. The Black Thunder Jiao seemed to know this place very well. After arriving at the place, it did its best to dig. After a while, a deep cave appeared in Tianyang's line of sight. Buried in the cave below the treasure land was a piece of emerald jade. After the Black Thunder Jiao brought the jade up, Tianyang and Ling Yuhan were immediately attracted to it. When they saw the jade, Tianyang was shocked. Qian Han was so excited that he could not control himself. Chapter 284. It's the Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade. Qian Han exclaimed. The Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade was much more valuable than the purple radish flower. The Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade was emerald green and was formed by absorbing the surrounding life force. It contained an enormous amount of life force. Even an expert in the second heaven or third heaven of the Tao Fire realm could not compare to it. Moreover, the life force could be used on humans. Moreover, the Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade had the ability to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. However, it was not as powerful as the purple radish flower. In terms of value, the Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade was much more valuable than the purple radish flower. The purple radish flower could survive in the firmament territory because of the Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade's ability to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It's the Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade. I didn't expect it. Tianyang picked up the emerald and examined it carefully under the sunlight. The Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade was emerald green and seemed transparent under the sunlight. However, even though it was transparent, there were no impurities in it. The emerald green that made one feel relaxed and happy was like ripples in water, flowing with the power of life. That was why the Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade was called Emerald Wave. Just holding it in his hand made Tianyang feel as if his entire body had been cleansed. The rich life force had an extraordinary effect on him. I didn't expect there to be such a treasure in the dark Abyss Mountains. I was right to come to this new student trial. Tianyang chuckled and put the Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade away. He could not lose such a treasure. Ling Yuhan, on the other hand, nodded happily. It did not matter whether this green wave spirit jade was given to her or not. In any case, with her strength, there was no way she could fully display its effects. However, as long as Tianyang had it, it meant that she had it too. This naturally made Ling Yuhan very happy. However, while some people were happy, others were sad. The Black Thunder Jiao was disheartened when he realized that the treasure he had coveted for so long was gone. If an ordinary person had taken the Emerald Wave Spiritual Jade, even if the Black Thunder Jiao could not defeat him, he would still fight to the death. But who was Tianyang? Possessing the body of the Heavenly Dragon, condensing the Heavenly Dragon's dragon core, a human whose bloodline was completely above it. The Black Thunder Jiao's strength was nothing in front of Tianyang. After all, the bloodline suppression had weakened its strength by more than half. Even if it hadn't been weakened, Tianyang could still take care of the Black Thunder Jiao. Therefore, the Black Thunder Jiao could only look at Tianyang pitifully. Tianyang's face twitched when he saw the Black Thunder Jiao's pitiful appearance. This island in the middle of the lake had long been the Black Thunder Jiao's territory. He had taken the purple silk flower and the Jade Wave Spirit Jade away. It was indeed a little unkind. You took the purple silk flower and the Jade Wave Spirit Jade to evolve your bloodline, right? Your bloodline is not bad, so the possibility of evolution is not small. But if you want to evolve, the purple silk flower is completely useless. Although the Jade Wave Spirit Jade is useful, its effect is next to nothing. Tianyang glanced at the Black Thunder Jiao and saw through the Black Thunder Jiao's intentions. Hearing this, the Black Thunder Jiao swung its tail in dismay. With a swing of its tail, a terrifying wave was set off on the surface of the lake as it rushed towards the shore. But if you want to evolve, it's not like I can't help you. Tianyang stroked his chin and said. Ling Yuhan was shocked when she heard this. Master, you want to use your dragon power? Back when they were cultivating in the dragon transformation pool, Ling Yuhan knew that Tianyang was cultivating a body tempering technique related to dragons. After all, Tianyang had absorbed the powerful dragon qi. Even an idiot could tell. However, cultivating the dragon body was one thing, and using dragon power was another. Although body tempering techniques like the dragon body were not common, there were many of them on the mainland. However, dragon power was definitely an important part of the dragon body. If dragon power was used up, it would be extremely difficult to recover. It might even damage the foundation. Therefore, Ling Yuhan could not sit still and hurriedly advised, Master, please reconsider. Seeing that the little girl was so concerned about him, Tianyang smiled and said, It's fine. It's just a little bit of dragon power. It's nothing to me. For other body tempering techniques, dragon power was painstakingly absorbed dragon qi and went through a lot of tempering to condense it. Moreover, it was only a little bit. However, this was for other body tempering technique. Tianyang's body tempering technique was Heaven-level martial skill, 9 tempering dragon body. Ever since Tianyang condensed the Sky Dragon's dragon core, the Sky Dragon's dragon core had been absorbing the spiritual qi of heaven and earth day and night, transforming it into pure dragon power. The dragon power in Tianyang's body was as vast and boundless as the ocean. Therefore, giving the Black Thunder Jiao a little bit of dragon power as compensation to promote its evolution was not a big deal at all. Moreover, Tianyang's dragon core contained a trace of nirvana power. The recovery of dragon power was even faster. This was also the reason why the Sky Dragon body was a crucial turning point in the 9 tempering dragon body. Roar. Hearing the term dragon power, the Black Thunder Jiao became excited. Its tail kept swinging, creating huge wave. When Ling Yuhan heard Tianyang's words, she knew that it was impossible for her to persuade Tianyang. Then, Tianyang came in front of the Black Thunder Jiao. He reached out his hand and placed it on the Black Thunder Jiao's head. Dragon power surged into the Black Thunder Jiao's body. The Black Thunder Jiao's body exploded with light, and the dragon blood hidden in its body began to boil. Then, the black thunder Jiao immediately soared into the sky and soared in midair. Then, it burrowed into the ground and entered a state of cultivation, trying to evolve. Seeing this, Tianyang smiled and put away the two treasures. Then, he left with Ling Yuhan. With the help of his dragon power, it would not be difficult for the Black Thunder Jiao to evolve. At the bottom of the lake, the Black Thunder Jiao's huge dragon eyes watched Tianyang until he disappeared from its sight. There was a look of gratitude in its eyes. Then, the Black Thunder Jiao closed its eyes and began to break through to a higher level of bloodline. The freshman trial lasted for a total of 2 weeks. During these 2 weeks, Tianyang fought continuously in the first few days. He killed magical beasts and stole treasures. Sometimes, he even beat up those who were ignorant enough to run away with serious injuries. However, in the last 10 days, Tianyang was too lazy to fight on his own. He used the soul imprint he left on Nangong Shun to find him every few days. Every few days, he would find him. Every few days, he would find him. Tianyang and Ling Yuhan did not kill any magical beasts, but the contribution points on their student tokens kept increasing. They were always in first and second place. On the other hand, Nangong Shun was about to go crazy. He was the young master of the Nangong family. When had he ever been humiliated like this? Unfortunately, although his talent was good, his cultivation was weak. He couldn't beat Tianyang, so he could only sullenly watch as the contribution points he worked so hard to earn were snatched away by Tianyang. Of course, Tianyang also kept some points. Otherwise, this guy might really go all out. Finally, the freshman trial ended. Chapter 285. They returned to Sky Blue College. Tianyang looked at the 2 treasures in his hands with a satisfied expression. As for Ling Yuhan, he was also very satisfied with the rewards of the freshman trial. The higher ones ranking in the new student trial, the more cultivation resources they would receive. At the beginning of the talent test, they would be allocated a mansion. Ordinary students were all gathered in one area. Only a genius like Tianyang, who was so outstanding that he defied the heavens, would have his own courtyard. As for the new student trial, other than the mansion, the other cultivation resources were determined. Ordinary students could receive 10 ordinary missions, 1 special mission, 100 spirit stones, and 1 chance to borrow a martial skill from the Martial Skill Pavilion every month. Tianyang, who ranked first among the new students, could receive an unlimited number of ordinary missions, 50 special missions, 5,000 spirit stones, and 10 chances to borrow a martial skill. Ling Yuhan, who ranked second among the new students, could also receive an unlimited number of ordinary missions. However, the number of special missions was reduced to 30, 2,000 spirit stones, and 5 chances to borrow a martial skill. This kind of cultivation resource was something that ordinary students could not even dream of. Only students who were as talented as him could barely match up to him. However, in terms of true ability, no one could surpass Tianyang and Ling Yuhan. Even if Ling Yuhan was only at the first level of the origin transformation stage, it was still the same. Dugu Ao was still alright. Although he did not enter the top 3, he still obtained a good ranking of 4th. Baigong Yu was close behind at 5th. As for Nangong Shen, he was much more miserable. He was only ranked 7th. To a rank 7 genius of the Nangong family, this ranking was ridiculously low. If he had not offended Tianyang and Ling Yuhan at the beginning with Nangong Shen's talent and ability, he would definitely have had a chance to be ranked 3rd. Unfortunately, this fellow did not have eyes and dared to offend Tianyang and Ling Yuhan on the first day. This also sealed his tragic fate. As for the 3rd place, Tianyang was slightly surprised. It was actually Lu Songhai. However, he did not care much about it. However, in this way, those who came from their testing area would be in the top 5 of the new student trial. Damn it! This Tianyang is too presumptuous. After returning to his residence, Nangong Shun smashed the teacup in his hand and roared furiously. Nangong Shun's true origin, which had already reached the peak of the 6th level of the origin transformation stage, was constantly fluctuating, showing that he was extremely furious. I can't deal with you now, but there are too many people in the outer court of Sky Blue College who can. Nangong Shun roared with hatred. Then, he took out his communication token and started to send a message. Is it Big Brother? That Tianyong, the #1 freshman, had really gone too far. Your younger brother has been robbed by him countless times, so much so that he's only ranked 7th. Yes, that's right. He lives at the bottom of the hill. He should still be in the house. All right. Nangong Shun hung up after sending the message for a while. He put away the communication token and looked into the distance with resentment. I can't do anything to you, but there are too many people in the outer campus who can deal with you. He's ranked 21st on the outer court genius ranking. He'll definitely beat you up until you're on your knees begging for mercy. Ha ha ha. Now that I have the purple silk flower, how should I set up this special spirit gathering formation? Tianyang did not know that he was being targeted again. He was studying the method of setting up the powerful spirit gathering formation in his mind as he held the spirit stone in his hand and muttered to himself. Although he had obtained the method of setting up this formation, he had never set it up. After all, this purple silk flower came from the foreign realm and could only be found by chance. Even in Tianyang's previous life, he had never obtained it. Soon, Tianyang understood it and took out the purple silk flower with a face full of confidence. It's actually set up according to the 8 trigrams and 9 palaces. This way, not only will the spirit gathering formation be greatly strengthened, but it will also have a certain degree of protection. Yes, I'll modify it a little. This way, the protection will be even stronger and it can contain more formations. Then, I'll set up an offensive formation and it'll be perfect. Tianyang was in high spirits as he spoke eloquently. The originally perfect spirit gathering formation was changed beyond recognition under his modification. However, this change was because it had become even more perfect. After all, Tianyang was not only a great emperor of the Way of the Sword, but he was also a supreme master of alchemy and formations. The 8 trigrams and 9 palaces and the spirit stones have been set up. Now, it's time to set up the most important formation eye and formation guide. Tianyang worked extremely quickly. In a short while, he had completed all the basic work. Next, it was time to integrate the purple silk flower into the formation. The current spirit gathering formation did not have the purple silk flower as the formation eye and formation guide. It was just an empty shell, but this empty shell was still absorbing the surrounding spirit chi of heaven and earth. It was still missing the most crucial step, but it was already so powerful. One could see how powerful this spirit gathering formation would be once it was set up successfully. This is it. As long as I plant the purple silk flower and activate the formation, I'll be done. Tianyang came to an obvious spot in the courtyard and carefully planted the purple silk flower. He had to be careful. After all, there was only one purple silk flower, and this was his first time setting up this formation. Therefore, if he failed, he would not be able to get a second purple silk flower. This spirit gathering formation was related to the progress of his cultivation breakthrough. Therefore, he had to be extremely careful. In the end, the purple silk flower was planted perfectly. Furthermore, it had perfectly fused with the spirit formation. In the next moment, Tianyang's expression turned serious as he circulated the inner yuan in his body. Boom! A surging aura erupted from Tianyang's body. In the next moment, Tianyang raised his right hand and a majestic inner yuan condensed. Ha! Tianyang roared and his right hand accurately hit a spot. Boom boom boom! A series of deafening explosions erupted. The stream in front of the door rippled unsteadily, and the small mountain behind them trembled slightly. If someone were to look down from the sky, they would be able to clearly see extremely mysterious formation runes being released from all directions. They spread, and overlapped. Finally, with the purple silk flower as the center, it formed a huge formation that enveloped the two courtyards. This fluctuation. Someone is setting up a powerful formation in the academy. In the dean's residence, the dean looked into the distance in shock. He was extremely shocked. He was a formation master, but he still could not tell where the fluctuation of the formation originated from. Where did it come from? Indeed, the spirit-gathering formation that Tianyang had set up with the purple silk flower was something that even the dean of Sky Blue College, a spirit sea realm formation master, could not do. This was because this spirit-gathering formation of the vast ocean was equivalent to a fourth-grade pill. Chapter 286. The formation was majestic, and the runes were mysterious and gorgeous. Lines of extremely mysterious formation runes connected with each other and finally formed a magnificent formation. A faint golden light shone on the runes. In the center of the formation, the purple radish flower started to sway slightly. Together with the formation, it attracted the surrounding spiritual chi. The vast ocean spirit-gathering formation gathered spiritual chi into a vast ocean. Boom, boom, boom. An earth-shattering sound exploded in the formation. Even Ling Yuhan was shocked, thinking that an enemy was approaching. As for Tianyang, he was looking at his surroundings with satisfaction. Outside the array, layers of mist were beginning to condense. This was not the kind of mist that obstructed vision. It was the spiritual chi of heaven and earth that would only appear when the spiritual chi of heaven and earth had gathered to the extreme. The heaven and earth spiritual fog represented that the heaven and earth spiritual chi in this place had already gathered to an inconceivable level. Not bad. This effect is indeed worthy of the reputation of the vast ocean formation emperor. Tianyang chuckled. The surrounding spiritual chi of heaven and earth gathered rapidly in the blink of an eye. In just a few breaths one could feel it. The surrounding spiritual chi of heaven and earth had increased by at least 5 times. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the firmament territory was more than twice that of the northern wilderness region. Sky Blue College also had a large-scale spirit-gathering formation. Although the large-scale spirit-gathering formation was not very effective due to its large size, it still increased the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in Sky Blue College to an extremely powerful level. It was at least 1.5 times that of the firmament territory. That was 3 times that of the northern wilderness region. On this basis, Tianyang's vast ocean spirit-gathering formation increased by more than 5 times. In an instant, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth had increased by 15 times. In other words, Tianyang's small courtyard had 15 times the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the northern wilderness region. Although the northern wilderness region was located in the northernmost part of Heaven continent, it was very desolate and barren. However, the amount of spiritual chi of heaven and earth was not low. Even the central region only had 3 to 4 times that of the northern wilderness region. Now, Tianyang's vast ocean spirit-gathering formation had increased the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in his courtyard to 15 times that of the northern wilderness region. Even some sects in the central region could not do this. Not bad. Tianyang narrowed his eyes as he felt the increasingly abundant heaven and earth spiritual energy. He enjoyed the feeling of his true essence increasing with every breath he took. Yes, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth here was already so abundant. The formation emperor of the vast sea is indeed worthy of his name. His cultivation in Array Dao is only at the advanced rank 4 spirit-gathering formation, yet he can play such tricks. Tianyang exclaimed in admiration. Although he was a supreme array master in his previous life, he was not the #1 array master in Heaven continent at that time. The first person was the formation emperor of the vast seas. The formation Emperor of the Vast Sea was a legend in the history of Sky Cloud's continent. He was a milestone. His magical ability to set up a formation made even emperors not dare to compete with him. Only Tianyang, the Tianji Sword Emperor, could directly break through his formation and fight him one-on-one. However, Tianyang had only used his terrifying sword Dao cultivation to break the formation. In terms of formation Dao, Tianyang was ashamed of his inferiority. He only had the combat strength of an emperor, but he was an existence that even emperors were afraid of. Unfortunately, this kind of existence eventually died of old age. After all, he was a figure of the era of the origin Emperor Shi Su. Even emperors of the Ascension realm had limited lifespans. However, now that I think about it, that guy was still a little lucky. If he had seen the despair of the great destruction of civilization, I'm afraid he wouldn't have died so peacefully. Tianyang suddenly smiled and said, "When the formation Emperor of the Vast Seas passed away, he sent him off as the number 2 array master in Heaven Continent. After the formation Emperor of the Vast Seas passed away, he became the number 1 array master." Of course, other people thought so, but Tianyang never thought so. After all, his array Dao cultivation was still weaker than the formation Emperor of the Vast Seas. Back then, he used the Vast Sea God slaughtering formation to shatter the void, seriously injuring 3 emperors and a great emperor. Even now, Tianyang still admired him. Well, the dead are gone. Let's experience it now. The corner of Tianyang's mouth curled up slightly. He then decided to return to the cultivation room to experience it. Right now, the vast ocean spirit gathering formation was still gathering spiritual qi, and the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was still increasing rapidly. However, according to Tianyang's calculations, the northern wilderness region's spiritual qi would reach its limit by 18 times at most. Unless he changed the inferior grade spiritual stones to middle grade spiritual stones or superior grade spiritual stones, or changed the purple silk flower to a better formation catalyst. Otherwise, there was no way to increase it. At this time, Ling Yuhan ran up to Tianyang with a look of admiration and said excitedly, "Master is so amazing." The spiritual qi of heaven and earth here was so high that even she, who had explored many secret realms, was shocked. Even the Onyx Mountain Range, the northern wilderness secret realm, and the dragon-hiding ancient land could not compare to Tianyang's courtyard. The heavenly sun spirit gathering array had directly created the best cultivation environment that they needed for their current cultivation. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth is very abundant now. You can go back first. The Ice Emperor's heavenly sword technique will be much faster in a place like this where the spiritual qi of heaven and earth is abundant. Your foundation is very solid now. You have battled many times in the Onyx Mountain Range. You have the foundation to break through to the second level of the Origin Transformation stage. Once you reach the second level of the Origin Transformation stage, you can also cultivate stronger martial skills. Tianyang patted Ling Yuhan's head and smiled. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan nodded and skipped back to the cultivation room. When they were in the Soaring Cloud sect, Ling Yuhan and Tianyang lived together. Now that they were at Sky Blue College, their relationship was even deeper. Naturally, they could not be separated. As for Tianyang, after Ling Yuhan left, he also turned around, but did not immediately cultivate. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. In the next moment, Tianyang's figure appeared outside the formation. In front of Tianyang, a tall and handsome man stood proudly. The long spear in his hand shone with a cold light. His cultivation of the 9th level of the Origin Transformation stage was fully revealed. "Who are you? Why did you attack my formation?" Tianyang appeared in front of the handsome man in a flash and asked coldly. There was a faint anger in his eyes. Previously, he had a strange expression because someone was attacking the formation. If the vast ocean spirit-gathering formation was not much stronger than other spirit-gathering formations and had the ability to defend, the spirit-gathering formation that Tianyang had painstakingly set up would have been destroyed. Me! Hearing this, the handsome man sneered and looked at Tianyang mockingly. My name is Nangong Feng. I am ranked 21st on the Outer Court Genius ranking. Chapter 287. Nangong Feng, ranked 21st on the Outer Court Genius ranking? Tianyang said calmly as he looked at the handsome man in front of him. When he slapped Nangong Yun in the face and robbed Nangong Shen, he knew that there would be a lot of trouble from the Nangong family after he returned to Sky Blue College. After all, such a sanctimonious family valued their reputation the most. Naturally, they would not sit back and do nothing when their most powerful genius was humiliated by Tianyang. Now, as expected, Nangong Feng was here. He was ranked 21st on the Outer Court Genius ranking and was at the 9th level of the Origin Transformation stage. Even the Flying Sword, who had awakened the Sky Blade Constitution, might not be able to defeat him. However, would Tianyang be afraid? That's right, Nangong Feng said coldly. A lowly commoner dares to humiliate my younger brother, Nangong Shen. Do you know what crime this is? Nangong Feng said arrogantly as he looked down at Tianyang from above. His words seemed to contain the most powerful disdain. These sons of aristocratic families had disdain for commoners from their very bones. Even after Tianyang easily killed Nangong Shen, Nangong Feng still despised Tianyang. The pride in their hearts made them look down on everyone. It had evolved into the morbid pride they had today. In Sky Continent, strength is everything. Your younger brother's strength was trash, so of course I robbed him. Tianyang grinned. Nangong Feng's face darkened when he heard that. How dare you be so stubborn? Since you said that strength is everything, then I'll use my strength to make you respect me. Nangong Feng shouted. In the next moment, the long spear in his hand emitted streaks of lightning. Nangong Feng used his movement technique and charged forward. Mystic Class Upper Grade Martial Technique, Lightning Spear. Streaks of true origin condensed and turned into terrifying streaks of lightning. Then, the streaks of lightning gathered crazily and turned into a spear with terrifying penetrating power. Seeing this spear, Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly. This spear had already been cultivated to the peak of the second stage, which was the so-called large success stage. If it was an ordinary 7th-level origin transformation stage cultivator before it, the only outcome would be having the spear pierced through the heart and dying on the spot. The power is not bad, but it's still not good enough. Tianyang chuckled and pulled out the killing sword from his back. The lightning spear that was coming at him at a terrifying speed seemed to have slowed down a lot. Countless openings were exposed in Tianyang's eyes. In the next moment, Tianyang smiled lightly and slashed down with his sword. Boom! The killing sword and long spear collided. Energy collided, causing a terrifying explosion. Waves of energy erupted in all directions, causing ripples of energy to rise up. Seeing this, Nangong Feng's expression changed. You can actually take my spear attack. However, Tianyang did not intend to let him go. He used the Dragon Subduing Step and the Dragon Subduing Will, and his figure instantly escaped from Nangong Feng's lock. The next moment, on Tianyang's killing sword, lightning flashed. This is the real lightning. Earth rank intermediate martial skill, brilliant thunder of heaven and earth. Boom boom boom. Streaks of lightning that contained terrifying sword chi descended from the sky. The monstrous lightning seemed to illuminate the heavens and the earth. The vast sea of lightning directly enveloped Nangong Feng. Seeing this, Nangong Feng's expression changed drastically. He waved the long spear in his hand and continuously channeled his true origin. He used countless martial skills in an attempt to block the attack. However, it was an Earth-tier middle-grade sword move executed by the Sky Pole Sword Emperor. How could it be blocked so easily? Boom! Pooh! An explosion and the sound of blood being spat out sounded at the same time. Nangong Feng used countless martial skills to form layers of defense, but it could not hold on for more than 3 seconds. It was destroyed by the brilliant thunder of heaven and earth. Following this, a streak of lightning that contained powerful sword chi also struck Nangong Feng's body. Pooh! Another mouthful of blood was spat out. Nangong Feng's expression instantly turned ugly. At this moment, he realized the guy in front of him was only at the peak of the 4th level origin transformation stage. He was only at the peak of the 4th level origin transformation stage, but he, Nangong Feng, who was ranked 21st on the Outer Court Genius ranking, was beaten into such a wretched state. Bastard! Nangong Feng roared. He felt greatly humiliated. Even some of the half-step Dao Fire stage powerhouses in the clan could not beat him to such a state with one move. However, this puny 4th level origin transformation stage powerhouse did it. I want you dead! Nangong Feng roared. His 9th level origin transformation stage true origin transformation stage erupted again. Boom boom boom. Thunder rumbled. Lightning surged on Nangong Feng's body like a long snake. In the next moment, Nangong Feng waved his long spear. Bang! More than half of the brilliant thunder of heaven and earth was destroyed by the spear. Following this, Nangong Feng stabbed his spear again and destroyed the brilliant thunder of heaven and earth. Seeing this, Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly. This guy's strength was not bad. Even the half-step Dao Fire stage seniors in the clan did not make me vomit blood. However, you actually dared to make me vomit blood. Nangong Feng's face was cold as he glared at Tianyang. He was burning with rage. How dare a lowly commoner like you injure me and make me vomit blood? Now I'll use your life to pay for it. Middle Earth rank martial skill, illusory thunder spear. Nangong Feng roared. Instantly, the surrounding heaven and earth seemed to fluctuate. Earth rank martial skills could communicate with the energy of heaven and earth, and even affect heaven and earth. With Nangong Feng's martial skill cultivation, which was half a step into the intent realm, he could barely do this. Illusory Thunder Spear is a powerful martial skill that I obtained after passing the 31st checkpoint in the Void Thunder Hall. A lowly commoner like you will never get it in your lifetime. Nangong Feng laughed arrogantly. The long spear in his hand was crazily condensed with lightning energy. It was much stronger than the thunder spear from before. Hearing this, Tianyang frowned slightly. Middle Earth rank martial skill? With Nangong Feng's strength, it was indeed a little troublesome for him. However, it was just a little troublesome. Since you dare to humiliate the Nangong family, you should be prepared to die in my hands. Illusory Thunder Spear, layers of thunder shadows, kill. Nangong Feng roared angrily. He stomped his right foot and his entire body seemed to have turned into a ray of light. He charged towards Tianyang at a terrifying speed. Even the sound barrier was easily broken. With the distance between Tianyang and Nangong Feng could cross it in the blink of an eye. As for the long spear, it turned into countless thunder shadows. Not only was it hard to tell if they were real or fake, but each of the thunder shadows was quite powerful. Moreover, it was the real body. Not bad. As expected of a Middle Earth rank martial skill. You have some skills. Tianyang curled the corner of his mouth and looked at Nangong Feng. In the next moment, the killing sword in his hand flashed with a bloody light. Chapter 288. Upper Earth Rank Thunder God's Sword. Tianyang smiled. In the next moment, the killing sword in his hand was covered with dazzling thunderbolts. The thunderbolts were much stronger than Nangong Feng's. Even the Middle Earth Rank Illusory Lightning Spear was like the light of a firefly in front of Tianyang's sword. The Thunder God's sword was like the light of the moon. How could the light of a firefly be compared to the light of the moon? All thunder skills are inferior to me. Break. Tianyang laughed out loud. Countless thunderbolts gathered on his body and turned into the killing sword. Immediately, a terrifying sword radiance burst out from the Thunder God's sword. The sword radiance seemed to be formed by thunderbolts. Although it was just a sword radiance, it seemed to contain the power to destroy everything. Thunderbolts were so powerful and terrifying. Moreover, Tianyang had often used the Thunder God's sword in his previous life. The Thunder God's sword had also been cultivated to the level of sword intent. The casual sword radiated a trace of the Thunder God's intent. What? Nangong Feng's face changed drastically. He looked at the Thunder God's sword radiance with a pale face. He even had a feeling that his thunderbolts were in front of the Thunder God's sword. They could only bow down to it. Impossible. I am the 21st on the Outer Yard Genius Board, Lightning Spear Nangong Feng. This move is a mid-grade Earth-ranked martial skill from the Void Thunder Hall. How can a lowly commoner make me bow down to him? It must be an illusion. Nangong Feng shouted hysterically. However, Tianyang was too lazy to move a finger. When he had slashed out with the Thunder God's sword, he knew that the outcome of the battle had been decided. Boom! The illusory lightning spear and the Thunder God's sword collided. Countless spear shadows attacked, but the Thunder God's sword was not afraid. Every time the sword radiance moved, it meant that countless spear shadows were destroyed by the Thunder God's sword. Moreover, the Thunder God's force in the spear shadows was devoured by Tianyang and turned into the power of the Thunder God's sword. The illusory lightning spear was not a match for the Thunder God's sword. Now, the Thunder God's sword had absorbed the force of the lightning from the illusory lightning spear and become even stronger. Under such circumstances, the first to collapse was the illusory thunder spear. Boom! Boom! The countless lightning spear shadows shattered, revealing the true spear. At this moment, Nangong Feng's eyes turned red and he roared. A lowly commoner, a piece of trash, dares to compete with me. Then, Nangong Feng bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. The essence blood turned into the purest amplification force and acted on the illusory thunder spear. And the aura of the illusory thunder spear also instantly skyrocketed. He actually used the blood sacrifice technique? Tianyang's eyebrows twitched slightly as he looked at the illusory lightning spear that had increased in power. He was a little surprised. However, this trace of surprise also turned into an indifferent smile. Unfortunately, it's useless. Lightning God's sword, that's the Lightning God's sword. How could a mere illusory lightning spear and a mouthful of essence blood from the tip of his tongue resist the descent of the Lightning God? Break! Tianyang chuckled. The Thunder God's sword suddenly exploded with lightning. Even though it was strengthened by his blood essence, the Thunder God's sword was still too terrifying. In just 3 seconds, the blood essence blood's amplification force was exhausted. Then, the upper-rank treasure spear was also cut down by the sword. With endless lightning, the Thunder God's sword once again rushed towards Nangong Feng. Bastard! Nangong Feng's eyes were red. He looked at his spear in disbelief and roared, "I'll kill you!" That was his upper-rank treasure spear. How could it be cut down by a commoner trash? Looking for death? Then do as you wish. Tianyang smiled slightly. The true yuan in his body began to circulate. The 7 drops of sky origin true yuan released an almost endless amount of power to support the Thunder God's sword. Nangong Feng, who had just taken a step forward, suddenly woke up. A chill rose from his back and rushed to the top of his head. If he had rushed over, this sword would definitely have killed him. He was not training outside. Although he had a life-saving item on him, because he looked down on Tianyang, he left it in his residence. No! Nangong Feng roared. In the next moment, he immediately knelt on the ground and cried, "Don't kill me! As long as you don't kill me, I'll give you anything. I'll give you the illusory lightning spear, the thunderbolt spear, and the upper-rank treasure spear. I'll even give you the 21st place on the outer court genius ranking, Nangong Feng shouted. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Really? Really, really? As long as Big Brother Tianyang, no, Lord Tianyang doesn't kill me, I'll give you anything. Nangong Feng begged loudly. Hearing this, Tianyang's lips curled into a faint smile. This foppish aristocratic family was indeed a group of people who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Nangong Yun was like that, Nangong Shern was like that, Dongfang Zhuo was like that, and even Nangong Feng was like that. Then, hand over the interspatial bag and I'll spare your life. Tianyang smiled gently and moved his finger rhythmically. The thunderbolt sword, which carried the terrifying power of thunder, stopped in midair. Seeing this, Nangong Feng was even more shocked. How could he stop a sword move of this level with such power just like that? What level had Tianyang's understanding of the sword principle reached? With this cultivation level, even if he went to the sword pagoda, he would be able to reach the sword pagoda steel. Seeing this, Nangong Feng dared not act rashly. He hurriedly took off the interspatial bag from his waist and threw it to Tianyang from afar without daring to stand up. Tianyang, on the other hand, did not even bat an eyelid as he grabbed the interspatial bag. That's quite a lot of spiritual stones. I didn't expect you to have 10 million spiritual stones when you're only in the natal transformation realm. Martial skills are trash. I don't need them. This illusory lightning spear is barely passable. However, I'm not a spear user. Forget it. Tianyang searched Nangong Feng's interspatial bag and commented from time to time, belittling Nangong Feng's treasures to be worthless. In fact, to the Tianji Sword Emperor, Nangong Feng's things were indeed trash. TSK, young master of the Nangong family. You only have these lousy things. After a while, Tianyang finished his looting. He replenished all the spiritual stones that he had used to set up the vast ocean spirit gathering formation. He even had some left. He also obtained a lot of elixirs. As for the most precious herbs in the interspatial bag, Tianyang took them without hesitation. Finally, there was the student token. Seeing the student token, Tianyang's lips curled into a playful smile. Nangong Feng, on the other hand, narrowed his eyes, and his expression changed drastically. Tianyang, please have mercy on me. Don't be so. Who was the one who said that if I spared your life, he would give it all to me? Oh, are you going back on your words? That's true. If I kill you, you'll still give me all these things. Why don't you, don't. Master Tianyang, take whatever you want. If I say another word, I'll be a **** hole. Nangong Feng panicked when he heard that. He quickly shouted. Hearing that, Tianyang smiled and converted the 5,000 contribution points into his own. In addition to the original 1,000 contribution points, Tianyang now had close to 7,000 contribution points. Alright, you can scram now. Tianyang chuckled and returned the interspatial bag to Nangong Feng. Nangong Feng hurriedly caught it. He was even more shocked. That casual toss of the interspatial bag contained all kinds of magical powers. The interspatial bag seemed to be flying in a parabola in the air, but it was constantly changing and difficult to distinguish. However, in the end, it still landed firmly in his hand. There was no deviation at all. That kind of ability was simply shocking. Thinking of how young Tianyang was, Nangong Feng was even more shocked. He gave up on making an enemy out of Tianyang. Thank you for sparing my life, Master Tianyang. I'm leaving. Nangong Feng hurriedly stood up. He looked at the Thunder God's sword with lingering fear. After shouting that, he ran away without looking back. As for Heavenly Sun, he smiled lightly and snapped his fingers, causing the Lightning God's sword to dissipate. However, just as Nangong Feng was about to leave, he heard a long sigh. So poor, sky blue college, in a luxurious mansion not far from the freshman area. Nangong Shern had an arrogant look on his face. He hung one leg on the table and swung his chair back and forth. With Big Brother's help, Tianyang won't be able to escape. Nangong Shun laughed loudly. At that moment the door opened. Nangong Shun turned around and was instantly delighted. Big Brother, you're back. Is Tianyang dead? Big Brother, why do you look so pale? In the next moment, Nangong Feng rushed in. He clenched his fist and punched Nangong Shun's face. Chapter 289. After settling Nangong Feng's matter, Tianyang returned to the vast ocean spirit gathering formation. After the vast ocean spirit gathering formation reached 15 times the amount of spiritual qi in the northern wilderness region, it stopped growing and remained at that level. Although Tianyang's divine wilderness heavenly spirit technique and Ling Yuhan's ice emperor's heavenly sword technique were powerful, they were not the type that had a terrifying devouring ability. The amount of spiritual qi in the heavens and earth was already sufficient. If there was more, Tianyang would have wasted it. As expected of the vast ocean formation emperor, he is indeed generous. What a pity, Tianyang sighed as he sat cross-legged in the living room, feeling the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth flowing from his fingertips. Even he would find it difficult to perform such a technique. The vast ocean formation emperor was indeed worthy of his title as the #1 formation master 10,000 years ago. However, Yuhan is about to break through now. Tianyang chuckled softly. As soon as he finished speaking, waves after waves of energy rippled out from the cultivation room. The fluctuations grew stronger and stronger. At the same time, the range and intensity of the fluctuations increased. Finally, when the range and intensity reached an extreme boom, the cultivation barrier was broken, and his cultivation soared. A gust of cold air exploded from the cultivation room and spread throughout the courtyard. Obviously, when Ling Yuhan broke through to the second level of the origin transformation realm, the Ice Emperor's heavenly sword technique also broke through. Not bad. The 9-tailed moon fox bloodline and the 9 nether saint body are indeed powerful. Tianyang smiled. Although he still had spiral meridians, he did not care much about his physique and bloodline. Physique and bloodline were external things that would be useless one day. The only thing that could promote one's strength was one's own efforts. In his previous life, the heavenly sun also had spiral meridians. Although it was incomplete, it was still much weaker than the mortal body. However, even so, he still managed to cultivate to the peak of the heavenly completion realm, becoming the heavenly pole sword emperor who could dominate the world. Now that he had been reborn, he would not stop there. His journey was to explore the universe. Master, I broke through. With a creak, the door of the cultivation room opened, and Ling Yuhan jumped out. Seeing Tianyang in the living room, she also shouted happily. Then, she leaped into Tianyang's arms. Tianyang didn't expect Ling Yuhan to have such a big reaction. He lost his balance and the two of them fell on the sofa together. Tianyang looked at Ling Yuhan, who was on top of him and whose face had turned red within 0.3 seconds. He felt a little awkward. The other party was his disciple. How could the disciple suppress the master? However, although Ling Yuhan blushed, she didn't jump away immediately. Instead, she lowered her body and leaned closer to Tianyang's chest. Seeing this, Tianyang was a little confused. However, in the next moment, a thought flashed through his mind like lightning. Was there a problem with the breakthrough? Thinking of this, Tianyang became anxious. Ling Yuhan was his precious disciple. How could there be a problem? Even if there was a problem, he had to make up for it. The soul power of the peak of the heavenly ascension state surged out of his soul sea and scanned Ling Yuhan's body carefully. However, after scanning countless times, Tianyang didn't find any problem. Although the bloodline seal in her body was still half opened, it didn't seem to be a big deal. Moreover, if there was a problem with the breakthrough, how could it allow the Ice Emperor's Heaven Sword technique to advance further? Thinking of this, Tianyang felt relieved. He retracted his soul power and was about to sit up when his elbow accidentally touched a soft and elastic place. Tianyang's movements immediately froze. This little girl, she's quite something, a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. In the next moment, Tianyang's body trembled and expelled this thought from his mind. That was his disciple. When Ling Yuhan was touched, her body trembled as if she had been electrocuted. Her face was as red as an apple. Then, as if possessed, she opened her mouth. Master, young lord, I heard the news that the new students' training had ended, so I came to see you. Speaking of which, what kind of spirit-gathering formation did young lord set up? The effect is so good. Flying Sword's hearty voice came from outside. Then, 2 knocks came directly from the door. Hearing this voice, Ling Yuhan was instantly angered half to death. He also knew that he could not continue with this, so he unhappily threw out a stream of true essence to open the door. Flying Sword also came in. Hey, both of you are here. Why didn't you open the door just now? Flying Sword sat on the sofa opposite Ling Yuhan and Tianyang very familiarly. He looked at Tianyang and Ling Yuhan with a puzzled expression. Tianyang was a little embarrassed. The blush on Ling Yuhan's face had long disappeared, but she still looked like she wanted to kill someone. Wasn't that right? If this guy hadn't suddenly come, she would have succeeded. Big Sister Yuhan, what kind of person was Flying Sword? He was the descendant of the mysterious Sky Blade Emperor, Dao Quangtian, and the owner of the Heavenly Blade Constitution. After activating the Heavenly Blade Constitution, not only did his cultivation and Blade Dao realm, but even his soul power had advanced by leaps and bounds. Although he didn't deliberately observe, Flying Sword noticed Ling Yuhan's murderous gaze immediately. Say another word of nonsense? Ling Yuhan changed her attitude, raised her eyebrows, and said. Hearing this, Flying Sword trembled all over. He didn't know how he had offended the young master's first disciple and possibly the future mistress. Unfortunately, Flying Sword didn't know that it was he who interrupted Ling Yuhan's plan to become the mistress that made Ling Yuhan so angry. Don't worry about her. I don't know what's wrong with her. Tianyang also looked at Ling Yuhan strangely, then smiled at Flying Sword. Hearing this, Flying Sword shrunk his neck. He felt that after Tianyang's words, Ling Yuhan's gaze on him became sharper. By the way, why are you here? Tianyang said. One wouldn't visit a temple without a reason. Flying Sword had just activated the Heavenly Blade Constitution not long ago, and his strength was soaring. Under normal circumstances, he could visit them a little later. For some reason, when he heard that the freshman trial had ended, he immediately came over. This speed was faster than Nangong Feng, who was deliberately looking for trouble. Flying Sword lived much further away than Nangong Feng. Of course, the first is to visit the young master. Flying Sword smiled. He was really grateful and respected Tianyang. In his opinion, Tianyang was mysterious and unfathomable, and he was indebted to him. Such a person was completely worthy of Dao Feiyang calling him a sincere young master. The second is, young master, you have passed the freshman trial and have the qualifications to enter the Void Thunder Hall in advance. It just so happens that my strength has been increasing slower recently, so I'll also go there. Chapter 290. Void Thunder Palace? Hearing this, Tianyang was a little confused. The Flying Sword also started to explain. According to legend, Sky Blue College had 3 treasures, and 2 of them were located in the inner court. Ordinary outer court students wouldn't be able to come into contact with them. Although Tianyang's strength was extraordinary, he didn't have the authority to enter the inner court. So, let's not talk about it for now. The only treasure in the outer court was the Void Thunder Palace that the Flying Sword had mentioned. According to legend, the Void Thunder Palace was created 5,000 years ago when an astonishing thunderstorm descended. The thunderbolts were like a rainstorm, crazily descending in a place south of Sky Blue College. That kind of power, that kind of scale, even Sea of Soul Realm experts wouldn't dare to recklessly probe it. And after the thunderstorm ended, that place had become a strange treasure land. It was filled with lightning liquid, and the power of lightning was extremely abundant. Moreover, lightning would appear from time to time. After that, the Almighty of Sky Blue College took action and transformed this treasure land. Using a high-grade spirit artifact to suppress it, it became the Void Thunder Palace of today. It was said that the Void Thunder Palace back then wasn't a high-grade spirit artifact, but a middle-grade one. However, it had undergone 5,000 years of lightning tempering. This Void Thunder Palace had also evolved from a normal middle-grade spirit artifact to a high-grade spirit artifact. The Void Thunder Palace is divided into 81 floors. The higher you go, the more lightning liquid there will be, and it will even form a sea of lightning. Moreover, the frequency of lightning strikes will also increase. I heard that at the 81 floors, there will even be lightning strikes at all times. The Flying Sword said solemnly. Hearing this, Tianyang licked his lips, appearing to be extremely interested. Ling Yuhan, who was very angry because she had ruined something good, was also attracted by the Void Thunder Palace. Of course, this Void Thunder Palace doesn't just let you be struck by lightning. There will be rewards for punishment. Apart from the first 10 floors, every 5 floors will receive a reward. The reward for the 15th floor will be collected on the 16th floor, the reward for the 20th floor will be collected on the 21st floor, and so on. As for the ranking on the Outer Yard Genius ranking, there's also a huge factor. It's because of the Void Lightning Hall. Wang Yang, who I killed before, managed to reach the 19th level in the Void Lightning Hall. As for the person ranked 3rd, Jiang Nanyu, who is known as the Goddess of the Outer Court, has reached the 51st floor. As for the person ranked 1st, he has reached the 61st floor. The Flying Sword explained. Upon hearing this, Tianyang nodded his head lightly. This Void Lightning Hall seemed to be pretty extraordinary. If there was a sea of lightning everywhere, and lightning would strike from time to time, then it would definitely be a good place to cultivate lightning-attributed martial skills and temper the body. It was no wonder that such a place was called a treasure trove. Although the current Tianyang had mastered the Heavenly Dragon body to the extreme and could unleash the Heavenly Dragon Imperial Sword, its strength was still far from enough. There was still a long way to go before reaching the peak of the Heavenly Dragon body. Eating heaven and earth treasures was one way, and tempering one's body by going through trials was another way. Before reaching the peak of the Heavenly Dragon body, he could already shatter mountains with his fists. If he reached the peak of the Heavenly Dragon body, perhaps he could even shatter space. Alright, let's go to the Void Lightning Hall. After the Flying Sword finished speaking, Tianyang slammed the table and made his decision. Anyway, it was boring to stay in the yard. Previously, when he was waiting for Ling Yuhan, he had set up some offensive formations. Combined with the vast ocean spirit gathering formation, it was almost impossible for anyone to break in. However, the arrangement of these offensive formations had emptied a lot of Tianyang's pockets. The vast ocean spirit gathering formation had already used up all the spiritual stones that Tianyang had snatched from the treasury of Skymoon Country. Now, although Nangong Feng had replenished them, he had set up a few more offensive formations. If it were not for the Void Lightning Hall, Tianyang would have immediately flown back to the northern wilderness region to fight Skymoon Country's autumn wind. Moreover, although the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the yard was terrifying, it was obvious that he would not be able to break through much if he were to cultivate in seclusion at this time. It was better to explore the Void Lightning Hall, one of the 3 treasures of Skyblue College. That's great. Hearing this, the Flying Sword was overjoyed. He immediately stood up, and Tianyang and Nangong Feng followed closely behind him. They were not familiar with Skyblue College. Naturally, they were not as familiar with it as Flying Sword, a senior student. Look, the Outer Domain Genius ranking and the Outer Domain Genius ranking are moving again. Just as Tianyang and Nangong Feng were heading to the Void Lightning Hall, The people guarding the hall were shocked again. This time, the light was so dazzling that it attracted the attention of everyone in the hall. The last time the flying sword made it to the 50th place, it was already shocking enough. This time, it can't be the 50th place again, right? Someone muttered, but the crowd ignored him. Instead, they all ran to the front of the ranking tablet and focused on it. Why did the 60th place to the 100th place drop by 1 place? Someone noticed a strange situation and could not help but ask. Hearing this, the crowd was shocked. Even the 60th place dropped by 1 place? Did this not mean that the person had made it to the 60th place and above? Then, the crowd looked up again. However, what shocked them was that the 40th place to the 60th place all dropped by 1 place as well. It can't be. This situation can only happen if someone who has never been on the outer yard genius ranking suddenly made it to the 60th place. Someone who has never been on the outer yard genius ranking suddenly made it to the top of the outer yard genius ranking after a battle? The crowd below the ranking tablet looked at each other. They could see the disbelief in each other's eyes. After all, this kind of thing was too rare. If the person had made it to the 80th place, the 70th place, or even the 60th place, they could accept it. However, this newcomer had directly made it to the 30th place and above. He belonged to the top group of people in the entire outer yard. How could a newcomer make it to such a height in such a short time? It was unbelievable. Huang Hongrui, who was originally the 23rd place, also dropped by 1 place. Nangong Feng, who was originally the 21st place, also made it to the 22nd place. To be able to reach such a height, what kind of monster is this? The crowd looked at the ranking tablet in shock. Then, they finally found an unfamiliar name. 21st place, Tianyang. Tianyang? Who is that? He's so powerful, a young girl said in shock. She was already at the 6th level of the origin transformation stage, but she was still a long way from the outer yard genius ranking. Now, there was actually a newcomer who had made a leap and made it to such a height. How could she not be shocked? Tianyang? This name sounds familiar. One of them fell into deep thought when he heard this. Then, a flash of inspiration came to him as he recalled something. Isn't this the number 1 newcomer? What? You said he's a newcomer? Chapter 291. So this is the Void Thunder Palace? It's really domineering. Heavenly Sun raised his eyebrows and said, as he looked at the majestic palace that was floating above the sea of lightning and emitting a boundless aura. This Void Thunder Palace was undoubtedly an upper-grade spiritual weapon. In his previous life, Tianyang had even seen a supreme-grade spiritual weapon, so he naturally recognized it as an upper-grade spiritual weapon. However, this upper-grade spiritual weapon was somewhat out of Tianyang's expectations. It was originally a middle-grade spiritual weapon, but because of the spiritual sea, it was refined into an upper-grade spiritual weapon. If that's all, then it's fine. But why does this Void Thunder Palace contain a trace of Void Thunder power? It's not much weaker than the strongest upper-grade spiritual weapons, Tianyang said in surprise. This Void Thunder Palace was indeed extraordinary. Fortunately, this is the firmament territory and not the central region. If this was the central region, Sky Blue College would have been destroyed long ago. Tianyang muttered. An upper-grade spiritual weapon that was not weaker than a supreme-grade spiritual weapon was simply a great temptation for those powerful forces in the central region. A high-grade spiritual artifact could become the sect treasure of a second-grade faction, and a top high-grade spiritual artifact would have a great status even in a first-grade faction. It should be known that a first-grade sect was already a force that had an Emperor Realm expert in charge. Although Sky Blue College had a long history, it was only a third-grade force. It would be fine if it wanted to protect the Void Thunder Palace, which was originally a middle-grade spiritual weapon, but to protect an upper-grade spiritual weapon? No way. Fortunately, the forces in the firmament territory were generally not strong. Under normal circumstances, no experts would come here. Even if there were, ordinary Sea of Soul Realm experts would not be able to see through the Void Thunder Palace. As for heaven-reaching realm experts, that would be possible. However, except for a few shameless people that Tianyang knew, ordinary heaven-reaching realm experts would not attack Sky Blue College because of their status. Young master, why are you so stunned? At this moment, Flying Sword's puzzled voice woke Tianyang up from his thoughts. Tianyang nodded and walked into the Void Thunder Hall with Flying Sword and Ling Yuhan. From the outside, the Void Thunder Hall looked extremely huge. Inside it was even bigger. As the only treasure among the 3 treasures of Sky Blue College that was located in the outer courtyard, Void Thunder Hall had countless outer courtyard students at all times. Flying Sword had tried it a few times before, but at that time, he was only in the Clear Chi realm, so no one paid attention to him. But now, as soon as Flying Sword stepped through the door, he felt several gazes on him. What's going on? Flying Sword's heart tightened. Could it be that someone was looking for trouble? Right, my ranking on the Outer Court's Genius rankings is too strange, so it's normal for people to be unconvinced. However, those gazes only lingered on Flying Sword for a while before shifting to Tianyang. Is that the biggest dark horse this year? A freshman who actually made it to the 21st place. In other words, this young man defeated Nangong Feng and replaced him on the ranking. He looks quite handsome and gentle, but I didn't expect him to be so strong. He can even defeat Nangong Feng. Waves of whispers could be heard. Their voices were suppressed to an extremely low volume, but Tianyang and the other 2 were not ordinary people. Their 5 senses had been greatly enhanced, so all these voices fell into their ears. Hearing this, Tianyang's heart did not waver, but Flying Sword had a strange expression on his face. He thought they were talking about him, but he did not expect them to be talking about the young master. However, when did the young master replace Nangong Feng and become the 21st place on the Outer Court's Genius rankings? Nangong Feng was a ruthless character. An ordinary person would not be able to do anything to him. Tianyang's cultivation was only at the peak of the 4th level of the Origin Transformation stage, so how could he defeat Nangong Feng, who could even fight a half-step to the Dao Fire realm? Dao Feiyang was puzzled. Ling Yuhan, on the other hand, puffed out his chest proudly when he heard these discussions. Although the person who defeated Nangong Feng was not her. These discussions were just a small interlude, so Tianyang did not care much about it. Flying Sword was extremely shocked because this meant that Tianyang's reputation had spread throughout the entire outer court. He had entered the inner court for less than 3 months, but he had already reached a level that 99% of the seniors could not achieve. The young master was indeed the young master. The 3 of them walked at a moderate pace, and soon, they arrived at the transportation portal of the 81st level of the Thunder Ocean. Entering the 81st level of the Thunder Ocean requires 500 contribution points. Contribution points are hard to come by, so under normal circumstances, students would not come. However, there are too many people in the outer court, so the Void Thunder Hall is bustling with people every day. Flying Sword said. Then, he placed his student token in a groove beside the transportation portal. After 500 contribution points were deducted, the transportation portal's restriction was opened. I stopped at the 6th level last time, so I'll enter the 6th level directly this time. Young Master and Sister Yuhan will start from the 1st level since it's your first time here. When Flying Sword stepped into the transportation portal, he turned around to remind them. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded. Then, the 2 of them did the same thing. After 500 contribution points were deducted, they also entered the 81st level of the Thunder Ocean. A silver light flashed, and Tianyang's figure arrived at the 1st level of the Thunder Ocean. Above the vast Thunder Ocean, there were many small islands. However, they were all very small, and could only accommodate a few people at most. The heavenly sun, on the other hand, landed on a small island. This seemed to be a separate space from the thunder ocean that formed 5,000 years ago. The aura of the first level of the thunder ocean was the same as the one he sensed from afar. However, this did not seem to be an independent challenge. Tianyang looked from afar, and could see that there were other figures in other places of the first level of the thunder ocean. The first level of the thunder ocean requires you to shatter 100 lightning bolts or cross the thunder ocean to reach the transportation portal. At this moment, a voice sounded in Tianyang's mind. The voice was very calm, without any fluctuation of tone or emotion. It seemed to be the weapon spirit of the Void Thunder Hall. 100 lightning bolts or cross the thunder ocean to reach the transportation portal to the second level of the thunder ocean. After Tianyang repeated his words, he understood what was going on. If I cross the thunder ocean, I don't have a map. Crossing here and there might be a waste of time. So, it's better to shatter 100 lightning bolts directly. Tianyang's lips curled. Then, he performed the Void Step secret technique and soared into the sky, rushing into the thunder clouds. Then, he released his true yuan and began to stir the thunder clouds crazily. The thunder clouds of the first level of the thunder ocean were very calm. Lightning bolts would only descend after a long time. This was obviously not good for Tianyang's plan of ending the battle quickly. Therefore, Tianyang wanted to stir up the thunder clouds. Make it. Chapter 292. Boom! After being disturbed by Tianyang, the thunderclouds in the first layer of the thunder sea that had been calm all this time were finally stirred. Countless lightning energy gathered and flashes of lightning flashed in the clouds. Seeing this, Tianyang smiled and returned to the island. Other than him, the island was barren. Only he could attract the lightning, so he was not afraid that the lightning would miss him. Boom! 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 The thunder clouds let out a deafening roar. In the next moment, countless lightning bolts struck down at the same time. Come on! Tianyang laughed loudly. The dragon force in his body surged. Not only did he not dodge, he even brazenly faced the attack. He was fearless. Seeing this abnormal scene, the crowd in the surroundings were also shocked. When did the thunderclouds in the first layer of the Thunder Sea become so powerful? A person who was sailing on the Thunder Sea was shocked. He looked at the area that was constantly releasing lightning bolts and was dumbfounded. Seeing this, the other person was also shocked. Let's go and take a look. Good. It's rare to see such a bizarre scene. Perhaps a treasure will appear. That person said excitedly. Then, the two of them hurriedly changed their direction and headed toward the island where Tianyang was. Their thunder boat was a unique boat in the Void Thunder Hall. With this boat, they could cross the Thunder Sea and reach the teleportation point to the second layer of the Thunder Sea. With this thunder boat, they could walk on the Thunder Sea. Otherwise, it would be fine to walk on the Thunder Sea for a short period of time. However, after a long time, the Thunder Sea contained majestic lightning energy. Even your mother would not be able to recognize it. Awesome! Tianyang stood on the island and opened his chest to receive the countless lightning bolt. He laughed heartily. He had even taken off his moonlight armor, leaving only a white robe that was meant to be worn, but did not have any defensive properties. The lightning bolts struck his chest without any hindrance. The lightning bolts were easily blocked by the heavenly dragon body. However, the lightning energy contained in this lightning bolt entered Tianyang's body and organs. If others were to discover this situation, they would definitely panic. After all, the power of lightning was an extremely terrifying power. Moreover, the human body was extremely fragile. If the power of lightning went berserk, perhaps his internal organs would be destroyed. At that time, he would not be able to keep his life. However, Tianyang did the opposite. He used the power of lightning to temper not only his physical body, but also his internal organs and countless other organs. The power of thunder and lightning surged within Tianyang's body, giving Tianyang a sense of numbness. as the power of thunder and lightning flowed, countless impurities were forced out and expelled by Tianyang. Just a few thunderbolts had strengthened Tianyang's already terrifying physical strength by a little. Ha ha ha! Again. Tianyang laughed loudly. With a flick of his right hand, a stream of true yuan shot out and rushed into the thundercloud that was still in a berserk state, adding fuel to the fire. The thundercloud seemed to be enraged. It did not care about the level restriction of the first lightning sea and completely released the power of thunder and lightning in its body. Boom, 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 boom. Countless thunderbolts struck down without any hindrance. Without exception, they struck Tianyang's chest. Damn, that guy is so fierce. On a small thunderboat, two people looked at Tianyang, who was previously thought to be a treasure, in shock. At this moment, Tianyang was bathed in lightning but was not injured at all. On the contrary, the more the thunderbolt struck, the more carefree Tianyang was. Could it be that this guy wants to challenge the bombardment of 100 thunderbolts before going to the second lightning sea? One of them guessed. Hearing this, the person beside him was stunned and said in disbelief, "It can't be. The bombardment of 100 thunderbolts is extremely difficult. No one has succeeded in so many years." "Can this young man do it?" that person questioned. Hearing this, the person who spoke earlier laughed. "Anyway, we have a lot of time now. Why don't we continue to watch this young man endure the thunderbolts? If he succeeds, you have to treat me to a drink." Hearing this, the young man beside him laughed. "If he doesn't succeed, you have to treat me to a drink. Of course." At this moment, on the small island, Tianyang also noticed the two people sitting cross-legged in the middle of the lightning sea. Both of them were facing his small thunderboat. Although he was curious about the novelty of the thunderboat, Tianyang did not care. Two illuminating Qi realm cultivators were nothing to him now. At this moment, there were only 9 thunderbolts left out of the 100. The thundercloud seemed to be aware of the situation and began to reduce the frequency of its thunderbolt. Every time it struck, only one thunderbolt would strike down. As for this lightning, it was much more powerful than the previous lightning bolts that were randomly smashing into the ground. Interesting. Seeing this, Tianyang's lips curled up slightly as he looked at the thunderbolts that fell from the sky. Boom. Then, the thunderbolt struck Tianyang's chest. After absorbing the power of the thunderbolt, Tianyang's physical strength increased a little. That's right. This lightning strike contains a lot more lightning energy than the previous ones. Tianyang's eyes lit up as he looked at the thundercloud. After pondering for a while, he slashed out with his sword. The sword Qi instantly traversed through space and hit the thundercloud. At this moment, the thundercloud suddenly trembled and the remaining 8 thunderbolts struck down. Damn! This guy is crazy. He actually dared to challenge the thundercloud. The last 9 thunderbolts are already extremely powerful. Even those who can reach the 5th level of the lightning sea might not be able to do it. This guy not only challenged the 100 thunderbolts, he actually increased the difficulty? This guy is doomed. The two people could not sit still and stood up in a hurry. They looked at Tianyang and the thunderbolts in the sky in shock. The 7 thunderbolts were only slightly stronger than the 91st thunderbolt. However, the last thunderbolt in the middle was different. The rest of the thunderbolts were blue-purple in color. Only the middle thunderbolt was pitch black. The power of the Void Thunderbolt. This Void Thunderbolt Hall is really something. They even took out such a thing. Seeing this, Tianyang smiled and immediately soared into the sky, rushing towards the 8 thunderbolts. Seeing this, the two people were even more shocked. This guy, he's actually not running away. He's actually courting death? At this moment, Tianyang and the 8 thunderbolts collided. Boom, boom, boom. Countless explosions instantly erupted. The Sky Dragon's dragon core released a large amount of dragon power and Tianyang's body was covered in light. In the next moment, a terrifying dragon roar exploded from Tianyang's body and collided with the void thunderbolt. Boom! A deafening explosion instantly spread throughout the first level of the lightning sea. At the last moment, Tianyang used the devouring heaven seal and devoured the power of the void thunderbolt without any waste. The power of his physical body increased tremendously. After that, Tianyang stepped into the teleportation gate that appeared in front of him and headed towards the second level of the lightning sea. As for the two youths in the Sea of Thunder, they stared dumbfoundedly at the clear sky left behind by Sky Sun's departure. Chapter 293. The thunderclouds in the Void Lightning Hall were formed by the Void Lightning Hall absorbing the lightning energy from the Sea of Lightning. Within the thunderclouds, there was a trace of the legendary Void Lightning energy, which was the source of the Void Lightning Hall's power. Therefore, no matter how much lightning energy was drawn out, it was impossible to disperse the thundercloud. In the history of Sky Blue College, no one had ever been able to disperse the thundercloud. Even the thunderclouds in the Void Lightning Hall's first layer of lightning sea were the same. However, at this moment, it had appeared in front of two ordinary 9th-level Bright Chi Realm disciples. It was a miracle that had never happened before. That was a thundercloud with the void lightning energy as its foundation. How could it disperse just like that? The gentle sunlight poured down without any hindrance, and the two Sky Blue College disciples on the thunderboat were both dumbfounded. That was a thundercloud. The thundercloud of the Void Lightning Hall. Could it be that his provocation of the thundercloud caused the void lightning energy in the thundercloud to be drawn out? Impossible. How strong is the void lightning energy? How could an ordinary disciple withstand it? If that was the case, then that youth would have died long ago. How could a youth who can fly be ordinary? The two of them argued. At this moment, one of them suddenly thought of something and opened his mouth and eyes wide as he stuttered. Could the black thunderbolt that was surrounded by 7 thunderbolts be the void lightning energy? That's impossible. If it was the void lightning, then even an 8th or 9th level origin transformation stage martial artist wouldn't be able to survive. But other than this, do you have any other explanation? The two of them argued to no avail. In the end, they could only stick to their own opinions and leave. However, after the two of them left, the news of the mysterious youth dispersing the thunderclouds in the first layer of Lightning Sea spread like wildfire and spread throughout the entire first layer of Lightning Sea. Most people snorted disdainfully, while a small number of people listened with serious expressions. Dispersed the thunderclouds. Tianyang didn't know what kind of waves his previous actions had caused in the first layer of the Sea of Lightning. However, even if he knew, Tianyang wouldn't care. At the moment, Tianyang was still basking in the lightning. The second test of the Lightning Sea was the same as crossing the Lightning Sea and enduring the lightning strike. It was unknown what kind of changes there would be in crossing the Lightning Sea, but this time, enduring the lightning strikes would increase by 100 times. In other words, Tianyang had to endure 200 lightning strikes to pass this stage. Not bad, not bad. The more the better. The more the better. The corners of Tianyang's mouth curled up as he allowed the countless lightning bolts to rain down on his body. Rays of light circulated around his heavenly dragon physique, resisting the bombardment of the lightning bolts. However, the thunderbolts in the second level of the Thunder Sea seemed to be a little weak. It must be an illusion. No matter what, the second level should be much stronger than the first level, Tianyang muttered. He didn't know that in his body, the void lightning energy that was above all other thunderbolts flowed through his countless meridians and finally gathered in his heart. In his heart, the heavenly dragon core was constantly revolving, and at the same time, it also absorbed the void lightning energy. It drove the entire heavenly dragon physique. In addition to the Nirvana force, there was also a trace of the void lightning energy. The quality of the lightning in the second level isn't very good. Well, I heard that the first 10 levels of the Lightning Sea were prepared for students of the Clear Chi realm. Of course, it's trash, Tianyang muttered. Then, he attracted the thunderclouds and quickly completed the second level of the lightning sea. However, this time, there was no second void lightning energy, which made Tianyang a little disappointed. After that, he easily passed the third level and the fourth level as well. Although the higher the level, the greater the amount of thunderbolts required, Tianyang's method of attracting thunderclouds was tried and tested. Other than the first time when he lost control, he smoothly completed the first level of the lightning sea. Finally, Tianyang arrived at the 11th level of the lightning sea. It was still a monotonous lightning sea, but the void lightning energy contained in the azure lightning liquid below his feet was much stronger than the 10th level. If it was said that Origin Transformation Realm cultivators could still stay in the Lightning Sea for a short period of time in the first 10 levels, then the 11th level of the Lightning Sea was something that even the experts on the genius ranking of the Outer Yard had to be wary of. Moreover, the heaven and earth spiritual chi in the surrounding air was much more abundant. It had already surpassed the amount of Sky Blue College in the outside world, reaching a level that was 4 times that of the northern wilderness region. Although it was still a distance away from the small courtyard in the Azure Ocean Spirit Gathering Formation, it wasn't far off. If it's a higher level, the amount of heaven and earth spiritual chi will definitely be more. No wonder the people at the top of the genius ranking of the Outer Yard haven't changed even once in a few months. The stronger one is, the higher the level of the Void Lightning Hall. The higher the level, the better the conditions for cultivation. This way, the speed of growth of one's strength will be much faster. Tianyang smiled as he saw through Sky Blue College's goal. This arrangement was nothing more than to let the students at the bottom bounce back, rise up in the face of adversity, and unleash their greatest potential. The potential that was unleashed under such circumstances would definitely allow an ordinary student to shine brighter than the average genius. This way, the mediocre could become a genius, and a genius could become even more of a genius. Sky Blue College's methods were truly extraordinary. Of course, only a big college like Sky Blue College had such a foundation. If it were a small college, not to mention the Void Lightning Hall, the students at the bottom would have lost all confidence before they could even bounce back. There seems to be a lot more things in this lightning sea. Tianyang looked around and his soul energy trembled slightly. Immediately, he captured a strange thing. With a wave of his hand, the power of lightning condensed, and a lightning pearl formed by lightning shot out from the lightning sea. A strong suction force exploded from Tianyang's palm. In the next moment, the lightning pearl was caught by Tianyang without any resistance. This lightning pearl is not bad. The power of lightning it contains is much stronger than the lightning sea at the 10th level. This way, even if I'm not in the Void Lightning Hall, I can still use lightning to refine my body. Tianyang smiled, then raised his head and looked at the sky that was filled with thunderclouds. In the thunderclouds, rays of golden light surged, emitting a boundless and powerful aura. The 11th level test. Under the strengthened version of lightning, resist 50 bolts of lightning.